We have about 70 participants who have already joined us, and we have a number of people who are also watching on YouTube Live. And so let us start our online symposium. Welcome to the 2021 IAMSCU Online Research Symposium 2021年度の IAMSCU オンラインリサーチシンポジアムへようこそ。We are broadcasting today from right now from IAMGAKUIN University, but also from universities around the world. 今日私たちはIAMGAKUIN大学から放送してますが、しかし世界の他の大学からも同時に放送しています。This is our sixth symposium. 今日は6回目になります。So it is a great pleasure to welcome all of you to participate in this symposium. 今日皆さんがこの共にオンラインという形で参加できることは非常に嬉しいと思っております。I would like to start our symposium with a prayer. それではお祈りをもってシンポジウムを始めさせていただきたいと思います。Let us pray. Lord God, we thank you for the connection that we have in IAMSCU. We thank you, Lord, that even during a pandemic that we can connect for this symposium together. 父なる御神あなたの皆を賛美いたします。今日私たちはパンデミックの中でシンポジウムができることを心から感謝申し上げます。We come from all around the world, but today we join our hearts and our minds for this symposium. 今日私たちは世界の各地域からは来てますが、今日このシンポジウムのためには心とまた思いを一つにしています。We pray that this will be helpful for us today and for students and faculty in the days and weeks ahead. 今日このシンポジウムは今日参加する私たち一人一人のため、しかしこれからオンラインで参加する方々のためにもなることをお祈りしています。We pray in Jesus' name. 主イエスキリストの皆によって祈ります。アーメン。Today we have a lineup with speakers from IAMGAKUIN University, from Yonsei University, from the Wesleyan College of Manila, and from Isabella Thorburn University. Our first session is here in Tokyo. 今日はですね、4大学からのセッションがありますが、まず最初のセッションはIAMGAKUIN大学から放送しています。And from here, I will switch to speaking just in English and let our Japanese translators translate. Let me also just take a moment to explain that this symposium will feature simultaneous translation into Japanese. So at the bottom of the Zoom window, our participants can all see an interpretation button. And if you click on that, you can choose English or Japanese. 今日のシンポジアムは全体的に同時通訳します。参加者の皆さんは、Zoom の下のところで、通訳というボタンが見えます。それをクリックすると、英語と日本語を選ぶことができます。同時通訳がありますので、日本語で聞きたい方はどうぞ日本語でご参加ください。And now I'd like to go on to introduce our first speaker of the day. This year's theme is Artificial Intelligence, ICT, and Social Transformation, Higher Education in a Post-Pandemic World. This theme is continuing our themes from years past and focuses especially on higher education in a post-pandemic world. Our first speaker for today is Dr. Keiko IKEDA from Kansai University, and she will be speaking on online international education and graduate attributes in Society 5.0. Dr. IKEDA is a professor of Kansai University and Vice Director of the Institute for Innovative Global Education. She is an expert on global online courses and has a very successful program in promoting the COIL online international learning in Japan. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome today Professor Dr. IKEDA.
Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon, good morning to wherever you are. I will be starting off my presentation in Japanese. For those who are English speakers, my apologies. Please switch and press the button on the translation. And I'll be happy to answer with you afterwards the presentation to have a question and discussions in English. All right, and let me start on it. And first of all, I'd like to share my slide. Can I have a permission to do that so?
Yes, trying to do so right now.
Can you see the slide now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, let's get started. So once again, 日本語、I will switch to Japanese now. 池田と申します。関西大学で、教員をしております。よろしくお願いいたします。本日はこのテーマで、少しだけお話をさせていただきたいと思います。
池田先生はそのために
はい、皆さんですね、ご承知の通り、パンデミックはまだまだ国際教育全般、そして教育全般に大きくダメージを与え続けています。2021年になりまして、ワクチン接種開始というのも各国で始まってきてますが、それでも安心安全に人が密に接する国際教育というのは、まだ数年先だろうという意見も耳にします。しかし本日私があえて焦点化したいのは、こういったパンデミックなどの人災や他の流動的勃発的な変化にもレジリエントな社会として、これから日本をはじめ世界が目指すソサエティ 5.0 についてです。コロナ禍もソサエティ 5.0 社会を推し進める契機になったのではないかと私は思います。世界のテレワークにまつわる統計をここに挙げてみました。コロナ禍前にもテレワークはすでに進んでいて、こういった成果は実は出ています。例えばここにありますが、8割弱のリモートワーカーが以前より能率が上がったと言っています。それからリモートワーカーの3割が年に$5000節約できた。交通費とかですよね。年収が上がったという報告もあります。また、アメリカでは現在テレワーク普及率が8割を超えています。また、東京都庁が2020年5月に実施した東京都内の企業を対象にした調査によりますと、2020年4月時点のテレワークの導入率が 62.7% となっており、また増えていると思いますが、この感染者数が伸びている関東の方で顕著にこの傾向が現れているようです。私の住む大阪ではですね、2025年に万博を控えております。この中でソサイティ 5.0 というのはとても大事なテーマです。まずソサイティ 5.0 というのは、狩猟社会 1.0、農耕社会 2.0、工業社会 3.0、そして現在の情報社会 4.0 の次に訪れる新しい社会となります。どんなことが起こるのか。現実社会のありとあらゆるものがセンサーやチップによってインターネットとつながります。もうオン・オフのバランスと言っている場合ではありません。ずっとオンになります。情報は人間が自ら集めて解釈するものから、人間にとってより理解しやすい情報として AI が解釈・加工して提供されるものになります。こういった先端技術と社会の高度な融合、これが 5.0 なわけです。4.0 はその技術が台頭してきた、使おうと思えば使えるという時代。そして 5.0 は使わないと日々の日常がままならない時代です。そしてテクノロジーは人が最もより良い生き方、生活を導き出すために、実現させるために活用されるのです。ここにありますように、human-centered、それから digitally humanized、こういった表現がふさわしい世界になります。大学の本文は教育です。私の個人の考えでは、教育とは人材育成であると思います。ソサイティ 5.0 社会が到来するということですから、そこで活躍するいわゆるソサイティ 5.0 人材、 これを輩出することが特に高等教育の役目となります。エデュケーションミニストリーですね。文科省はこの人材の質をいくつか取りまとめて提示しています。これがスライドになっています。これご覧いただきますと、技術や情報の何か具体的なものを知っている、習得しているという描写ではなく、ベースとなる活用スキルを重視しています。また、好奇心、探求心といった自分自身で未知のものに取り組むその意欲、精神性なども言及がありますよね。そして、ソサイティ 5.0 はデジタルテクノロジーを駆使した社会生活、経済の活性化が基礎となります。このデジタルリテラシーが人材として、例えばお箸を使うぐらい自然にできることが重要になってきます。日本ではギガスクール構想など、早い教育段階からの改革を国は大きく捉えて今進めようとしていますが、これは人材輩出という意味では少し結果が先になるでしょう。今、目下ですね、数年もしないうちに社会へ輩出される、いわば成人層はじゃあどうなるのでしょうか。デジタルを活用した大学教育行動化も、日本は特に遅れをとっている状況下が今、喫緊の課題となっています。デジタル庁が日本では設置されることもありますので、今後一気に教育のデジタルトランスフォーメーションが進むことが期待されます。ソサイティ 5.0 の世界、社会になるのなら、教育のあり方だって変わらないといけない。ジャパンタイムズにも少し前ですが、大学の教育カリキュラムが変容しない限り、ソサイティ 5.0 への社会に適した人材の育成など不可能だと、極めて明快な提言が出ていました。今の教育ではダメなんだと。これを受けて大学は変われるでしょうか。関西大学では、新執行部の運営が去年10月に始まりました。本学のスローガンとして挙げたのは、今回コロナ禍を受けて、変化する力、変化する勇気です。この COVID は起こってほしくない人災ではありますが、これを契機として今までできてこなかった大学の改革を実現させるタイミングにもなりうるわけです。これはただ待っていれば起こるのではなく、変化する、自ら動くということが大事です。このソサイティ 5.0 人材の育成を考える上で、ここで少し紹介するコイル、コラボレーティブオンラインインターナショナルラーニング。これはデジタル世界のグローバル人材教育の一つのあり方として位置づけることができます。パンデミックの状況下で、この教育実践は特にモビリティが途絶えている国際教育の現場で多く取り上げるようになりました。関西大学では、コイル実践は当初2014年から大学の国際化を進める戦略的取り組みとして認知して行っています。本学の国際化構想、Intercultural Immersion Initiative、III と言いますが、これでも活動の柱の一つとして記しています。2018年に世界展開力強化事業、文科省の事業ですが、この採択を受け、IIG という新しい機構を設置しました。この機構が私が所属しておる機構です。この機構を拠点として国内外におけるコイル教育の推進に現在取り組んでいます。コイルはアクティブラーニングを促すグループ活動のタスク設計をコラボレーション、いわゆる共同タスクとして課す教育実践です。この実践では海外大学との連携が前提です。多国籍、異文化集団となるとともに遠隔でつながりますから、必ず ICT を介することになります。関西大学では大学国際化戦略の一環として、あえて英語をこのオンラインの教習授業に使っていますが、必ずしもコイルのメソッドはそうではあるわけではありません。スタンダードなコイル実践の場合は、海外の大学との学年歴の違いなどを考慮して、例えば1セメスターの中で海外のクラスとのオーバーラップがある4週間から6週間の間を使って、この共同学習を行います。国内における急展開も目まぐるしいのですが、世界もそれよりも拍車をかけて今、コイルのような形のバーチャルオンライン国際教育を取り込んでいます。この積極的な動きのこの一例をこのスライドにリストアップさせていただいております。例えば欧州、米国で次々と COVID-19 を契機としてコイルやバーチャルエクスチェンジと呼ばれることもありますが、こういったことを大学機関を奨励するためにファンドを出しています。 またヨーロッパではエラスムスプラス事業でもバーチャルエクスチェンジを行っております。ドイツ、フランスといったところでですね、さまざまなところで、この喫緊の対応としてこの助成金を出す、この形で大学機関を後押ししているようです。そして今 ASEAN 諸国でもこの着目度が上がっている次第です。私の中で位置づけているコイル型実践教育が取り込む学習を1枚にまとめました。ここにある TBL、それから PBL、これらはご存知の方も多いかと思います。さらに海外の大学ではよく取り上げられますが、チャレンジ・ベースド・ラーニング、それから変容学習、トランスフォーメティブ・ラーニング、こういったものも入ってきます。そしてこれらの教育手法のパーツになるのがコラボティブ・ラーニング、それからアクティブ・ラーニング、そして関与型エンゲージ・ラーニング、そしてコミュニケーション能力の養成です。これらの教育手法が、パーツ、そしてさらに上層の学びプロセスを実現させるためのリソースとして、活用されます。また、コイルは、既存の多様な学習活動の手法と大きく異なる点があります。それは学習の前提になっているのが、この国際教育であるということです。海外の大学などとの連携によって初めて成立する国際教育、教育による国際交流が実現されていないと、コイルはその定義に当てはまるものではありません。国際社会において地球的視野に立って主体的に行動するために必要と考えられる態度、能力の基礎を育成するための教育であること、そしてそれと合わせてソサイティ 5.0 の求める人材のコンペテンシーを培う教育実践であると私は思っています。ここで少しこのコイルの実際の授業の様子を少し紹介したいと思います。例えばこれはスイスのチューリッヒ応用科学大学と本学のビジネス系の科目で行ったコイルです。5週間程度の共同学習でチームビルディングからスタートし、3大会のマイルストーンを得て最終プレゼンテーションを共同で作成しました。タスクは Developing a Marketing Positioning Strategy ということで、7つのさまざまなインダストリー、分野をポジショニング理論の視点から分析するというのが最終プロジェクトでした。最終プレゼンは、この Wanda という ICT ツールを使って、各々が好きなテーブルへの移動をしてビデオチャットをする。そして対面で言えばポスターセッションのような形で発表を行いました。で、学生は互いのプレゼンを見てベスト賞を選ぶといったことも最終的に行っています。このコロナ禍の中でこういった活動が実現できたことというのは非常に学生たちにとってもつながることができたということで、非常に今まで以上に評価が高いものになっていました。今一つの事例は、これはハワイ大学と本学、そしてフィリピンのサンペドロカレッジ、この3カ国3大学で行ったコイルです。これはエントレプレナーシップがベースとなっていまして、コラボレーションプロジェクトのテーマというのは、ソーシャルビジネスを企画する。またはプロダクト、サービスプロダクト、何かこう商品でもいいんですけれども、を考え出すというものでした。このプロダクトのプロモーション、ピッチですね。これをビデオとしてグループで作成するというのが、このコイルの最終目的となりました。3方向でのコラボというのは学生にとってもとてもハードルが高いものだったと思います。そして教師にとってもコラボレーションのコーディネーションは大変だったんですが、最終的には大変高質なものが出来上がってきました。ここで音声は流しませんが、少しイメージとしてですね、どのようなアウトプットができたのかというところを少しご覧いただきます。これは学生が作ったものです。
Good morning, everyone. What you just witnessed are the pictures of disasters. The disasters which struck different places on the planet at different times and changed everything ever so suddenly that any human can comprehend.
Also have had a hard time facing calamities. Hence, millions of people are affected by both human-caused and natural disasters. Natural calamities are an unforeseen occurrence of a phenomenon. Even so,
our vision is to provide communities and households with a
少しフォワードします
We
ね。
also plan on checking in on our clients periodically and updating them on any emergencies. Other ideas for our backpacks include the expansion of our products in different sizes. For instance, here is a fanny pack for individual emergencies and a box that's aimed more towards helping out large households.
The disaster awareness program will benefit the people in
times of natural disaster. It is always important to be sure that safety is your number one and utmost priority.
はい、といった形で、学生たちはこの DAP という製品を作り出して、これを安全のために、作り出した商品ということでプランを練ったということですね。このような形でアウトプットを出していくというのがコイルになります。このコイル型実践の先にあるものは何か、ここで少しお話したいと思います。このようにデジタルトランスフォーメーションがこれから進んで、いわゆるスマートラーニングが実現すると、いわゆるデジタルキャンパスが実現します。デジタルキャンパスでは教室の空き状況、場所、そしてキャンパスへ向かうまでの交通や天候に左右されません。台風でも電車が止まっても教育、学びは止まらないです。そしてコロナがあっても。このコロナ禍でオンライン教育の推進が進みましたので、このデジタルキャンパスの理解は大きく進んだと思います。こういったバーチャル、そしてクラウド型の学びスペース、環境と従来型の同一空間教室での対面の学び環境が混在するというのが、これからの大学キャンパスになっていくでしょう。クラウド型の学びは環境保護の視点、つまり SDGs の視点からも歓迎される傾向にあります。With COVID としての教育、緊急対策だけの視点では、こういったスケールの大学改革を実現することはできません。より長期、そして広辞な視点から次の教育フェーズを創造する必要があるのだと感じています。大学は目下、with COVID を見せたキャンパス構想とともに、今取り上げているソサイティ 5.0 社会のためのキャンパスを作り上げようとしています。これについていくつか必要な項目を挙げてみました。ここにあるように、まず一つ目、デジタルテクノロジーを十分に活用できる空間というのは、キャンパスの中に分散されていて、一箇所に集中させないことが大事になってきます。次に、適度な距離を持って、オンラインで参加する授業に支障がない空間の提供をするということが大事です。特に日本では、対面型の授業とオンライン型の授業の混合が今起こっています。学生がオンライン授業がキャンパスであった場合に、授業を受けた前後に居場所がなくなってしまう、そんな問題が起きています。そして最後に、個人がオンライン上で参加できる空間だけではなくて、小グループ、それから一斉に参加できる空間、そして COVID が収束した際には、さらに大人数で参加できる空間なども設置する必要があるでしょう。学生たちは、去年春学期ですね、この2020年の春学期に完全遠隔授業提供となった後にいろいろな意見が出てきました。一部はキャンパスで授業を受けたかった。一部はオンラインでよかった。様々な意見が出てきましたが、この今私たち大学関係者が関わっていて心配しているのは、このスマートキャンパス化が進むと、このデジタルキャンパスで学生たちがキャンパスに来なくなるのではないか。このキャンパス離れを少し心配し始めています。どのように大学のキャンパスへ人を戻すか。これ大きな問題です。そしてコロナ禍の中ではとても大きな難しい問題になります。よく大学教育の議論の中で、この言葉、スティキキャンパスという概念が持ち出されます。これはこのスライドにありますように、学生たちが来なければならないから来るのではなくて、来た方が自分にとって便宜が良い、メリットがあるから来る、choose to ということを意味しています。このスティキキャンパス作り、それからスマートキャンパス化を同時に実現させることが、これから我々のミッションだと考えます。このキャンパス作りが人を安全に集わせる空間になるのであれば、その実現はソサイティ 5.0 にとっても大きな力となるでしょう。この転換期に大学はあるのではないかと私は考えています。この点についてまた皆さんと一緒に考えていきたいなと思っております。私からのトークは以上になります。ご清聴ありがとうございました。
どうもありがとうございます。 Thank you very much for your presentation. And I'd like to quickly move to Q&A. I would like to recommend to our participants that if you have a question, to please write into the Q&A. And I'd like to move into the Q&A session. So I don't see any questions on our Q&A at the moment. I'd like to open it up to questions or comments from any of our participants who are participating as panelists and speakers today. So we have a number of participants who have joined us as panelists and speakers. And I'd also like to invite any of our participants to write a question on the Q&A. Now we do have one question in, and I will ask this to Dr. Ikeda. The question is, are you ready to propose any critical point of view from which to analyze what the Japanese Ministry of METI has regarded as Society 5.0?
Thank you for the question. So critically analyze the Society 5.0. Well, it's at the moment, the proposal is very broad. And one of the things I would say, though, however, is inclusivity, inclusive or not. So if you're going for digital transformation, the further digital divide would be expected. And how are they going to remedy that? Even within Japan, this digital divide is an issue. And then if you're talking about the world turning into Society 5.0, this is going to be a bigger challenge to resolve. So that would be one of the critical points that I would propose now. Okay, all right. And I see one more question we have on the Q&A. I think Dr. Ikeda, you can say it as well, but I'll read it. The question is, this is Jiwan from AGU, from Amigakuen, okay? Do you think it can be applied to companies as well, not only university campuses? Right, if you're talking about the digital transformation, that's starting already in the private sector, even much, much faster than university. University, the educational sectors are the last cohort actually joined into the trend of everybody else. So I would say that this is definitely application to the companies. Yeah, yeah, and I would have to agree with you. I think that we all need to join in this, and the schools tend to be following rather than leading. Right. Only the business schools, I would say, that they tend to be more catching up on the trend. So looking at what they're doing in the business school sections might be a benchmark for the rest of us. All right. Dr. Ikeda, I would like to thank you so much for your wonderful speech today. Thank you for your lecture. Thank you. This is the new way of clapping on Zoom. Because we can see each other, but we can't hear sometimes. So thank you very much for presenting today. And I'd like to move on to the presentation by Dr. NOZUE. And Professor NOZUE is a professor here at Aoyama University. He's a dear colleague of mine. He is the dean of our university library, and he is also the director of the Singularity Research Institute of Aoyama University. And he is going to speak to us today about library and learning of the future. And with that, I would like to turn it over to Professor NOZUE.
Hello everyone. 日本語で、進めていきます。皆さんこんにちは。青山学院大学のNOZUEです。画面を共有いたします。改めまして、青山学院大学のNOZUEです。よろしくお願いします。今日私からは図書館のお話をします。図書館は本を貸すところ、あるいは本を読むところというイメージが強いんですけれども、ポストコロナ、具体的には、ICT、AI がさらに活用されるようになる社会において、高等教育がより良くなっていくためには、よりよく変わっていくためには、図書館が鍵になるというふうに私は思っています。図書館というのは学ぶ場所、あるいは学びを支える場所にこれからよりなっていかなければならないと。 そういう観点から今日はお話をしていきます。ただ限られた時間ですので、今回はそのシンギュラリティ研究所、先ほど周先生からもありましたシンギュラリティ研究所の、私が関わっているプロジェクトの取り組みを、少しご紹介をするということにいたしたいと思います。お時間も限られていますので、ご意見やご質問は電子メールでも受け取りたいと思っていますので、ぜひ後日でも結構です。お寄せいただければと思います。さて、私の専門は図書館情報学および教育情報学という分野です。で現在、青山学院で教員をしていますが、図書館長およびシンギュラリティ研究所の、リーダーも、拝命をしております。今回は、今日はシンギュラリティ研究所の取り組みの一部を紹介するということになると思います。さて、そのシンギュラリティ研究所について、簡単にご紹介をしておきます。シンギュラリティ研究所は、約3年前に、本学青山学院大学に設置をされました。当時の学長の、イニシアティブによって、これから AI の時代になると。その AI の時代になったときに、その人間や社会がどうあるべきかということを研究しようという研究所であります。AI そのものを開発するというよりも、AI の時代における人間や社会の在り方について、人文科学的あるいは社会科学的に探求していこうと、そういった研究所になります。で具体的にはメンバーになっている先生方が、それぞれテーマを決めてプロジェクトを動かしていると、そういうスタイルで進めております。で私が現在リーダーを務めているのが、近未来の図書館と新しい学びについて研究するプロジェクトです。で今回はこれを紹介をしていくということです。さて、この近未来の図書館と新しい学び、研究プロジェクトですが、大きく分けて3つのことに、取り組んでいます。で1つ目が、共同学習の環境のモデルを構築しようという取り組みです。で具体的には、共同学習の、ツール、アプリケーションをセットした PC あるいはモニター等を図書館の学習室ですね、グループ学習室などに設置をして、自由に使っていただくと、授業やその授業以外の取り組みで自由に使ってもらって、それを記録していくという取り組みをしています。ただ、残念ながらこれはですね、予算の都合、それから新型コロナの影響で、今は中断をした状態になっています。で2つ目が教材に関する取り組みです。で大学の教材というのは、いろいろなものがあるわけですけれども、産業界をはじめ世の中には教材に使えるものがたくさんあります。ただそれをうまく使う仕組みがなかなか整っていないということで、その世の中にすでにある、特にそのビジネスの世界にある資源を教材化するための仕組み作りというのを今考えています。でごく簡単なプロトタイプのシステム、データベースをすでに作って今こちらを動かしながら検証を進めているところです。3つ目が学習者志向の図書館サービスで、これが今回今日お話しするメインになりますけれども、図書館を学びの場所として捉えて、その学び手、学習者により良い図書館のサービスとはどうあるべきかということを、特に AI の力を使って考えていこうということを進めております。さて、この学習者志向の図書館サービスなんですが、この研究については、富士通ジャパン株式会社との共同研究のスタイルをとっています。で富士通グループさんはAI を持っていますので、それを活用していきながら研究を進めていくというスタイルをとっています。でいくつか具体的なテーマはあるんですが、例えば図書館ではそのレファレンスサービスという相談に乗るサービスがあります。で資料の探し方等について相談に乗るのがレファレンスサービスです。で別の言葉で言えばこれは学習の相談に乗っているということもできます。利用者、特に大学生が自分の学習にとって必要な資料をどう探せばいいかということもこのレファレンスサービスには含まれています。で今までレファレンスサービスはその図書館員の知識や経験に基づいて 一体相談を行ってきたわけですが、実はすでにネットワーク上には、そのレファレンスサービスの Q&A がたくさん公開をされています。国立国会図書館も、共同データベースという形で全国の図書館がどのようなレファレンスサービスを行ったかというデータを大量に持っています。で、こういったこの集合値をうまく活かして、レファレンスサービスを展開できないかというふうに考えています。ただ、このことについては、他にも様々なテーマがあるのですが、なかなか全部同時にというわけにはいきませんので、今メインで取り組んでいるのが、こちらに書きました。AI を活用したその文献の探索のシステムでございます。こちらを少し、さらにお話をしていきたいと思います。この AI を活用した文献探索のシステムなんですけれども、具体的には今プロトタイプを作って、実験などをしています。大学生に実際に使ってもらって使い勝手がどうか、あるいはその使う様子を我々も観察をして、このシステムをどうチューニングしていけばいいかということを考えています。知的財産権、特許等の問題があって、その AI について少しまだ今の段階で詳しくお伝えすることが少しできないのですが、イメージを、掴んでいただくために少しだけお話をすると、学生が、利用者が、自分の知りたい、テーマですね、自分の欲しい、資料、情報についてのキーワードを、挙げます。そうすると AI が、学習をした AI が、データを学習した AI が、それについていくつか資料をお勧めをしていきます。でそのお勧めした資料について、少しポイントをつけながら、ランキングをつけながら、フィードバックを返していきます。そうすると AI がまたそれをお勧めしてということで、AI との対話を通して必要な文献を探していくという形をとっています。でこういったものをですね、このプロトタイムの使った実験、インタビュー等を通して少し分かってきたことを今日は少しだけお話をしようと思います。まず特に重要だと思ったことは、いわゆる検索と探索の間にAI が活用できる余地があるということです。つまりキーワードでマッチングをして必要な文献を見つけてくるということと、それから書家であるとか、それからウェブ上で、必要なものはざーっと探して自分の必要なものを見つけるという、その間にですね、まだ見つけられていない、ものがあるということです。つまりキーワードがうまく出てこないケースっていうのがありますよね。それからざーっと探していてもそこにはなくて見つからないというケースがあります。その間にある必要性、ですね。まだ見つけられてない文献をうまく見つけることができるということが AI を使うことによって、可能になっていくんじゃないかというふうに考えています。で、この背景には我々利用者はいつでもそのキーワード、いいキーワードを思いつくわけではありません。それから資料をざっと眺めてみても必要なものをさっと見つけるわけにもなかなかいかないんですね。それは我々自身がそのニーズをきちんと認識ができるとは限らないからです。ニーズを言葉として明確化できるとは限らないというその不確実性の問題がやっぱりあるんですね。でここに AI は非常に効果を発揮するというふうに今は考えています。でこういうふうにその AI によって対話を通して自分では気づいていないニーズを言葉にすることができたりとか、それからあるいは自分では思っていなかったようなものを AI にお勧めされて、そしてこれが本当は欲しかったんだと気づくことができる。いわゆるセレンディピティのようなことも起きるということが確認しています。で、ただですね、こういったことを今、実際にプロトタイプを通して進めているわけですけれども、このことがですね、実証的に研究を進めていく中で、改めて気づいたことは、そもそもその図書館というところを、その学習の場として捉えていかなければいけないということなんです。今はその文献をマネージメントしている場所っていうふうに捉えられているんですが、そうではなくて、その学習の時に自分の学習のプロセスの中で図書館を使っていくということが必要になってくる。で言い方を変えると、その図書館の理論というか、理論的なモデルをやっぱり作っていかなければいけない。学習の場所としての図書館というのはどういった機能があるか、どういった機能を発揮するべきかというモデルを作っていく。でそうした中で初めてその AI などを活用することができていくということも一方で気づいてきました。でそこで最後に私の話の結びに変えて、 この近未来の図書館と学びについて少し考えていることをお話をしてまとめたいと思います。今までのその図書館の伝統的なモデルから大きく変えていく必要があるということになると思います。学習のための図書館としてこういったことに取り組んでいく必要があるのではないかということを最後にお話をしていきます。でまずいくつかあるんですけども、順不同でお話をしていきます。一つ目が学習コレクションという考え方です。でこの学習コレクションっていうのはちょっと分かりにくいのですが今基本的にその図書館の資料というのは研究者向けに揃えられています。ですので、なるべくたくさんのものを網羅的に揃えて、実進分類法で整理をして必要なものを見つけることができると、そういう仕組みをとっています。ただ、学習者、大学生、学び手ですね。特に初学者にとっては、この学習の学問の全体像が見えていない段階で、自分の必要な資料がそのどこにあるのか。で、たくさんある資料、同じようなテーマの資料の中でどれが自分にとって必要なものかを見つけるというのは非常に困難です。そこで、まず特に初学者、大学生、少なくとも前半に向けてはカリキュラムにのっとったコレクションを揃えておくということが重要になります。でここは網羅的にたくさんあるのがいいのではなくて、必要なものが過不足なく揃っているということです。それから実進分類で並べて自分で必要なものを探すのではなく、カリキュラム順あるいは学習段階順に並べておく、配下しておくといった取り組みが重要になってくるということです。さらには図書館の資料というのは紙のものだと誰かが占有してしまうと他の人は使えません。ただ学習に必要なものは皆が常に使えるようになっていることが重要です。したがって基本的に貸し出しをしない、あるいは貸し出しをしてもごく短期間にとどめるような運用をするといった、こういった今までの図書館のコレクションとは、反対のっていうんですかね、考え方によるものがこの学習コレクションという考え方です。すでに指定図書等で一部類似の概念というのはあるんですけども、それをもう少し大きく進めていく必要があるだろうということです。一部取り組みを始めている大学は内外にあるわけですけれども、こういったことを進めていくということです。で後ほどお伝えしますけれども、これ紙のものだと難しいところがあるので、ここにはまさにデジタルの力を使っていくということになります。それから次の文系のナビゲーションのお話ですね。先ほどAI を使った取り組みを少し紹介しました。で実際にある資料ですね、文献を探していると同じテーマでも一人一人によって必要なものの優先順位というのは異なってきます。つまり今までどんな文献を読んできたか、どんな授業を取っているか、それからどんな進路を目指しているかといったことによって同じテーマであっても人によって文献の必要度は違うということなんですね。つまりこれからのその資料の探索というのはもちろん AI の力を借りながらになると思いますけれども、個人個人の学習の状況ですね、それから学習の履歴、それから学習の目的といったものをデータとして最適なものをリコメンドしていくといったことも必要になってくるだろうということです。これは我々が次に取り組もうと思っていることでもあるということです。さて以上のようなことはですね、全てハイブリッドで行うということが必要があります。また、ハイブリッドで行っていくことが有効だということです。デジタルでもアナログでも行っていくということですね。サービスであれば、来館でも遠隔でも利用ができる。資料であれば、ペーパーでもデジタルでも利用ができると。そういったことが前提になってくるだろうということです。で、こうした取り組みは、従来の図書館の枠組みにとどまりませんので、教員とのコラボレーションも必要ですし、それからさまざまな大学内の職員、学外の人との協力も必要でしょう。ただ、それでもまだコストはかかると思います。そこで重要になってくるのが、学生、学び手自身の関わりです。今日本では学生共同といって学生が学び合う、あるいは教え合うという取り組みが図書館でも進んでいます。先輩が後輩の相談に乗ったりとか、そういったこと今までも行われてきたわけですが、それをシステムとして仕組みとして図書館に整えていくことができないかということです。こういったことをこれからの図書館というのは積極的に取り入れて、図書館の学生は学び手であると同時に作り手である、そこにこそ学びがあると、そういうような仕組みを作っていくのが必要ではないかなというふうに考えています。 こういったことをですね、他にもたくさん論点はあるんですが、こういった学びの場としてのその大学図書館のモデルをきちんと作りつつ、一方で先ほどもお伝えしたようなAI を活用した、ICT を活用したような仕組みを作っていくと。今、こんなことをシンギュラリティ研究所のこのプロジェクトでは考えているということです。ちょっと具体的で詳細なところをお伝えしきれなかったところがありますけれども、今回は触りの部分ということでご容赦いただければと思います。ご意見、ご質問などメールでお寄せいただければと思います。どうもありがとうございました。
Professor NOZUE, thank you very much for your presentation. Thank you very much. We are out of time, so I will ask if you have questions to please write the Q&A, and Professor NOZUE, I think, can reply by text. But we need to move on to our next session. I would like to say thank you again so much to Professor NOZUE and also to Professor IKEDA for the presentations. Wonderful, very thought-provoking presentations. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you again so very, very much. And now I would like to move on to our next presentation. Today we are able to do 4 different sessions from 4 different places around the world. And so it is a great pleasure for me to start our Korean session. This is hosted at Yonsei University. And I would like to introduce Dr. Youngmin Park, who's a professor at Youngmin University and has been influential into organizing this symposium today. So with no further ado, I would like to welcome Dr. Youngmin Park to introduce our next speaker from Yonsei University.
Thank you for the nice introduction by Paul. And we are very glad, to be the part of this wonderful IAMSCU Research University Symposium. Yes, it is great to get together internationally and trying to share our knowledge and wisdom to each other. And hopefully, we can be better by supporting each other. Yes, this is the Korean session. And yeah, I have to say good morning and good afternoon and good evening from all over the world. And let us start, the session. The one thing before I start my session, and actually the speaker will kind of, present everything in Korean. And also, we thought about the simultaneous translation, but, there is the typical like the difficulties, about the translation because we have the several different languages using over here. So we decided we're gonna do it, all together within this channel. The speaker will speak in Korean and I'm gonna translate that one in English. And some Japanese and other people who are using different language can select their channel for that. But Korean and English will stay within this channel. So please understand that. Let me introduce our speaker, and who is also professor of Yonsei University within the University College. And he is the New Testament scholar, and also he is in charge of the liberal arts education, mainly in the Intro to Christianity. So he's kind of developing and organizing, leading a lot of liberal arts, the basic foundational university education at Yonsei University. He got the BA and MA from Yonsei University. He went to Germany and he got the doctoral degree in Münster, the university, and majoring in the New Testament manuscripts, especially in the textual criticism. So I want to introduce Dr. Kyung-Sik Min, who is fellow and a very good colleague and who has the provoking thought, for many things going on, especially in this pandemic world. So let me close my screen and I'm going to invite him to share his screen and he can start. Maybe let us welcome him with our hands.
My name is Kyung-Sik Min from Korea. It's a great honor and pleasure to have a chance to speak. Thank you very much for inviting me to this wonderful symposium. As Dr. Peck introduced me, I studied in Korea and in Germany, so I'm not good at English and I can't speak Japanese. Sorry, let me present in Korean. 오늘날 우리 20세기에 들어와서 가장 큰 위기를 맞고 있는 것 같습니다. 작년 한 해는 실로 전 세계적인 그런 혁명적인 변화의 시기였고 또한 위기였습니다.
As we all know, we are living in the crisis of the whole world. And it was not an easy time for us, especially last year and continuing this year about the pandemic. And it was the revolutionary time for us to think about what could be the new way.
오늘날 이 변화된 시대에 이 팬데믹 시대에 한국의 고등교육이 어떻게 변화하고 있는지를 여러분에게 간단히 소개해드리고자 합니다.
Reflecting on what is going on in this pandemic crisis, I'm trying to introduce what was happening within the higher education in Korea, especially within our university, Yonsei University.
아까 그 백영민 박사가 소개했을 때 그 화면을 보셨을 텐데요. 백영민 박사의 뒷 배경 사진은 연세대학교 메인 캠퍼스이고요. 저는 지금 국제 캠퍼스, 인터내셔널 캠퍼스에서 근무를 하고 있습니다. 여기는 바로 인천공항에서 아주 가까운 거리에 있는 곳인데 이 사진에 보면은 요 Korean Higher Education의 N, 요 N자 바로 뒤에 제가 지금 자리를 잡고 있습니다.
The background, the picture of the Dr. Park was the Sinchon campus, which is located in the Seoul of Yonsei University. Actually, I'm in the international campus of Yonsei, which is in Incheon, where the airport is located. And the picture you are shown right now is the international campus of Yonsei. Actually, and I'm sitting on the right, the alphabet N. Okay, and that location, is my office right now, and I'm reporting everything from that location to everyone.
이곳 신촌 캠퍼스와 구분된 이곳 국제 캠퍼스에서는 1학년 학생들이 교육을 받고 있고요. 1학년 학생들을 대상으로 liberal education을 실시를 하고 있습니다.
In the international campus of Yonsei, all freshmen of Yonsei University should stay within international campus and to get their basic liberal art education.
이 슬라이드는 아마 여러분 너무 익숙한 슬라이드일 거라고 생각을 해요. 전 세계 지금 1억 명에 육박하는 그런 인구가 감염이 되었고요. 한국은 상대적으로 지금 방역 관리가 잘 되어 있다고 평가를 받고 있지만 그래도 작년 한 해에 1000명이 넘는 그런 사상자들이 생겼습니다.
I think this is the familiar screen for all of you about the pandemic going on. As you know, there has been more than 100 million people infected over the world, and also Korea was not an exception, although the Korea has been handled this pandemic a little bit better than most of other countries.
그럼에도 불구하고 한국은 여전히 이 시기를 굉장히 위중한 시기로 이해를 하고 있습니다.
But still, the Korean people are accepting the situation very critically, and because this might go up and change instantly.
지금 보는 화면은요, 이 전 세계적으로 계속 이렇게 증가하고 있는 그 확진자 수를 볼 수가 있고요. 이게 이제 1일 확진자 수입니다. 한국 같은 경우는 3번의 이렇게 위기가 있었던 것을 알 수가 있습니다.
This screen is about the daily infected cases, of the world and also in Korea. And also within Korea, there has been the 3 very clinical wave, as you can see, and within Korea about this pandemic.
이거는 넘어가도록 할게요. 한국의 대학 교육은 3월에 봄학기가 시작되고 9월에 가을학기가 시작됩니다.
Korean university schedule, usually we have the 2-semester format, and spring start in March and the fall semester start in September.
자, 이 그래프에서 볼 수 있는 것처럼 요 3월 봄 학기가 시작되기 바로 직전에 요 대구라고 하는 지역에서 많은 확진자들이 생겨났고요. 이로 인해서 한국 사회가 큰 위기를 겪기 시작하게 되었습니다.
As you can see in the screen, in right before the spring semester start in February, there has been the big outbreak in Korea called the Daegu area, and that is why it changed everything in Korean university education.
그래서 이때부터 요건 이제 1일 확진자 수입니다. 이 당시에 거의 한 700~800명에 육박하는 학기 시작 직전에 그런 급속한 이런 상승 곡선을 볼 수가 있는데 예.
There was the big outbreak, as I say, and there has been around like 700 or 800 daily infected cases, and it was critical in Korean situation.
그래서 학기를 시작하기 전에 굉장히 많은 메일들이 안내 메일들이 이렇게 왔는데요. 이 내용은 처음 보면은 일단 개강을 2주 연기한다는 메일이 먼저 왔고요. 사실 이때는 2주 정도 연기하면 모든 상황이 진정될 거라고 기대를 했었습니다. 그런데 이제 진정될 기미가 보이지 않으니까 어쩔 수 없이 2주 후에 연기를 한 이후에 다시 2주간 비대면으로 그렇게 수업을 진행하도록 안내가 왔고요. 그 이후에 상황이 나아질 거라고 기대를 했었는데 4월 되면 괜찮아질 거다 생각했었는데 여전히 힘든 시기가 지속이 됐고요. 결국 추가적인 2주 연장 또 5월 12일까지 또 추가 연장 그래서 그런 과정을 거쳐서 결국은 학기 말까지 모든 수업이 비대면 온라인으로 진행됐습니다.
This is all different announcements we got from the school, and they were in chaos also because that was the first time for us to, get. First of all, when we got the situation, they postponed our first day of the school for 2 weeks, and because we believe, it's going to be better. But after 2 weeks, they kind of, announced that we're going to do everything online, non-face-to-face. And then, they announced, it's going to be in the whole semester. So I think there has been a lot of confusion about the announcement because the situation was not settled and changed a lot.
그래서 결국은 그 1학기 그 봄학기 때는요, 굉장히 상황이 혼란스러웠습니다. 전혀 준비가 되지 않은 상태에서 모든 수업을 온라인으로 진행을 하려 보니까 특히 연세가 드신 그런 교수분들은 이런 기술적인 어려움 때문에 강의를 제대로 진행하지 못하는 상황까지 발생했습니다. 여기 표에서 볼 수 있는 것처럼 일부는 동영상 컨텐츠를 제작해 가지고 배포를 했고요. 또 줌을 이용한 실시간 화상 강의를 실시하게 됐고요. 또 PPT에 음성을 녹화해서 보여주는 방식으로 또 수업을 진행하기도 했고 또 이렇게 과제물을 제출하기도 했습니다.
Yes, because we were not ready, and the university was, just asking the online education suddenly, and that was why most of the faculty were not ready to do it, especially somebody who doesn't have the technical sense, like a little older, faculty, and that was why we tried several different ways, and it was not moving well. And, we tried just the video recorded the lecture, and also we tried the live Zoom, and also we tried the PPT, or some classes only gave the assignment and, there was no real lecture.
우리가 가르치는 기독교에는 32개 분반이 있는데 이 32개 분반 가운데 17개 분반은 중복 적용을 했고요. 두 가지 스타일을 중복 적용한 분반이 한 30%, 그리고 세 가지 스타일을 중복 적용한 분반이 한 20% 됐고요. 다행히 과제물만 제출한 그런 분반은 없었습니다.
I think, within my field of Intro to Christianity, we have the 32 different session classes. And hopefully and luckily, we had the 53% of our class that used the more than 2 styles shown over here. And even the 7 classes were using the 3 different style of education, although they were in the online. Luckily, we didn't have any class read only assignment.
이 수업에 대한 한 학기가 지난 다음에 이 수업에 대한 학생들의 평가를 들어보니까요, 몇 가지 불만들이 있었는데요. 첫 번째로 우리 기독교에는 그런 수업이 없었지만 일부 교수자들은 별도의 동영상 강의 없이 PPT 등만을 제공 후 학습을 하라고 그런 것이 가장 큰 불만이었습니다.
I think there has been the evaluation by the students after the semester, and the most important and the critical thing was, without any lecture, if they were given only assignment or PPT resources, and that was the most complaint, we got from the students.
그리고 이제 두 번째는 기술적인 문제인데요. 영상을 제작할 때 화질이 좋지 않거나 발음이 부정확해서 이해하기 힘들었다라고 하는 불만이었습니다.
The second complaint was about the quality of the video and the lecture recorded, and also it was not easy to follow.
또 세 번째는요, 이 기술적인 문제하고도 관련이 있을 수 있는데 동영상을 제작하는데 시간이 또 노력이 많이 들다 보니까 제때에 동영상을 업로드하지 못해서 학생들이 불만을 제기하기도 했습니다.
The third one, was about the timing, okay? And some of resources were not uploaded within the given time or scheduled time, and that was why it was not easy to follow the schedule.
그리고 이거는 굉장히 중요한 지적일 것 같은데요. 동영상 콘텐츠를 가지고 강의를 하는 경우에는 적절한 피드백이 이루어지지 않았다는 문제점이 있었습니다.
Number 4 was very important part in my sense, and which is about the interaction. And there was the lack of interaction and also Q&A session enough because of online education.
그리고 이제 과제물을 주로 제출한 과제물로 수업을 진행한 클래스 같은 경우에는 지나치게 많은 과제물을 줬다는 그런 불만도 있었습니다.
This is student perspective. The last one was the too much assignment, and because they are trying to make up all the attendance and the class read the assignment only.
그래서 결국 이제 2학기 이런 것들을 이제 보완해서 2학기에 이제 어떻게 강의를 할 것이냐, 이제 학교에서 지침이 내려왔는데요. 2학기 때부터는 파워포인트만을 제공한다던가 또는 과제물만을 제공하는 식으로는 수업을 할 수 없도록 그렇게 조치했고요. 최소한 2시간 온라인에 1시간 대면 수업 또는 1시간 온라인에 2시간 대면 수업을 하도록 지침을 세웠습니다.
Reflecting on all the things happening in the spring semester, the university decided the clear guideline, there will be no class, only read the assignment or only read the PPT resources. So the school was suggesting kind of blended, education and class. We will have the 2-hour online and the 1 hour the regular class, or 2-hour regular class or 1 hour online. So blended learning is suggested by the school.
시험이 특별히 문제였는데요. 부정 행위와 관련해서 학생들의 불만이 많았습니다. 공정하지 않은 평가가 되고 있다고. 그래서 가급적 모든 시험은 대면 평가를 원칙으로 했습니다.
And also school suggested, because of there has been a lot of complaint about the final exam, okay, and the exam is not fair because there has been a lot of unethical behavior, has been received and reported, and also cheating might be possible. So the school ordered and recommended, all the exams should go on offline.
여기 화면에서 보시는 것과 마찬가지로 여기 박스, 그 붉은색 박스 안에 들어가 있는 게 온라인과 오프라인이 섞인 형태의 blended learning 수업인데요. 이때만 하더라도 2학기 때는 가을 학기 때는 오프라인으로 학생들을 만날 수 있을 거라고 하는 희망이 있었습니다.
So this is the screen showing the plan of the Intro to Christianity, which is 32 courses, reading in the university, and scheduled in the very beginning of the September, the fall semester. As you can see, the red box is the 9 classes were the blended, the classes of the online and offline.
그런데 그렇게 할 수 있었던 게 여기 화면에서 보시듯이 요 3월 이후 4월부터 그래도 8월 초까지는 이 방역 관리가 굉장히 잘 되었기 때문에 이제 이게 누적 확진자 수인데요. 누적 확진자 수가 거의 정체되는 크게 불어나지 않는 상황이었기 때문에 이렇게 2학기를 계획했던 겁니다.
School was hopeful because the Korean situation was really good, and the graph showing is accumulated infected case. As you can see, from March to August, it was pretty flat. So, we thought, we're going to start this kind of blended online classes, within the second semester, which is fall.
그런데 이제 8월 말에 이 집단 확진이 이태원에서 발생하면서 한국에 두 번째 위기가 찾아옵니다.
But another breakout happened right before our semester in August.
이게 이제 일일 확진자 수인데요. 사실 지금에 비하면은 그다지 많지 않지만 이때 갑자기 50명 정도로 유지되던 그 확진자 수가 갑자기 한 10배 정도 뛰게 되었습니다.
As you can see, there is the second wave, as you see, and we maintain under 50 daily infected cases. But during the time, it has been like almost 10 times more, around like 500. And that was the crisis again.
그래서 2학기를 시작하기 전에 다시 이제 학교에서 바쁘게 메일이 오기 시작했어요. 모든 오프라인 수업은 중단하고 일단 전면 온라인으로 수업을 전환해서 시작하기로 했습니다.
Because of that crisis, and school, changed the plan, and we tried, all online class and non-face-to-face.
결국은 2학기 내내, 가을 학기 내내 결국은 또 온라인으로만 수업이 진행됐습니다.
Then after that, we stayed 100% online, even within the fall semester.
그 대신에 이제 2학기는 1학기에 비해서 조금 더 준비된 학기가 될 수 있었습니다.
But the school got a little better, by providing some of the support from the school for this online education.
일단 1학기 때부터 이미 제공이 됐지만 이미 3월에 이 줌 라이선스를 사가지고 모든 교수자들에게 사용할 수 있도록 해줬고요. 처음에는 굉장히 이것을 사용하는데 어려움이 있었지만 2학기 수업부터는 상당히 익숙하게 사용할 수 있었습니다.
Actually, it was done, within the March, okay, and actually June. The school bought the Zoom account and freely kind of provided, this account to all faculty, and that is why we were able to use it. there has been problem within the spring semester, but most of the faculty got used to use it in fall semester.
또 이제 이 웹 카메라를 보급을 해주는데요. 시기를 봐도 이제 5월 중순이나 돼서 교수자들에게 보급을 할 수 있었습니다.
And also school provided the web camera, okay, shown like this, and they made this decision in May.
이렇게 늦어질 수밖에 없었던 게 사실 대학 교육만 문제였던 게 아니라 초, 중, 고등학교 모든 교육기관들이 3월부터 온라인으로 수업을 진행하면서 이 카메라에 대한 수요가 엄청났기 때문에 도저히 구할 수가 없었던 겁니다.
The reason why it has been delayed is because there is a panic buy of the all the educator, to use this one, and it was out of stock all the time. So I was able to get that one in May.
그 외에도 여러 가지 이런 수업 준비할 수 있는 기자재들을 보급해 주었습니다.
And also school supported other devices like iPad or other computer, and so school did something they were trying to do.
이제 그 중에 한 가지가 이제 또 자동 녹화 강의실을 준비를 한 겁니다.
I think one thing I was appreciative for our school is the school prepared the automatic recording class.
이 화면에서 볼 수 있듯이 이렇게 작은 교실에도 이런 시스템을 도입을 했고요.
Yeah, there has been the automated system within the several designated room.
그리고 이렇게 상대적으로 큰 교실에서도 이렇게 할 수 있도록 시설을 마련했습니다.
Even within the big classroom, we were trying to record, very easily, as a live style the lecture for the class.
그리고 좀 더 전문적으로 영상을 녹화할 수 있는 시설을 또 마련을 했는데요. 이거는 네이버하고 계약을 해서 아주 고 퀄리티 그런 녹화를 할 수 있는 장소를 마련해 주기도 했습니다.
And also our university made a big contract with the famous IT company Naver in Korea, and they provided this kind of studio for the professional, recording for the class who are willing, to produce this kind of high quality class lecture.
그리고 또한 기술적으로 어려움을 겪고 있는 그러한 교수자들을 위해서는 디지털 조교를 제공을 했습니다.
And also for the people and the faculty without those kind of technical knowledge, the school set up several digital student assistants, and so that they were helping us to produce a lot of video and the technical things.
지금 보시는 거는 이제 제 방, 지금 제가 앉아 있는 바로 제 눈앞에 보이는 시스템인데요. 이렇게 마이크도 구비하고 조명도 구비하고 또 뒤로는 크로마키도 있고 그렇게 이 상태에서 주로 학생들을 만나게 되는데 이제 한 1년 하다 보니까 굉장히 익숙해진 것 같습니다.
This is the current setting of my desk right now. I'm using all of this thing. As you can see, the two screen, the big microphone, and the some of good light, and also the chroma key screen behind my chair. So after using this one for a year, and I think I got used to, and I'm doing much better right now.
결국 2학기 때는요 이렇게 비대면 또 온라인 대면 또 온라인 대면과 비대면을 섞은 형태 그리고 또한 온라인과 오프라인을 섞은 형태의 강의를 준비했지만 결국은 네 번째 것은 하지 못하고 전체 수업이 다 온라인으로 진행이 됐습니다.
So for example, school were planning to have the fall semester with the online non-face-to-face and online face-to-face live through Zoom, and also blended learning, and also offline and online, and it was not possible. So everything became online in different style.
이거는 이제 다음 학기 우리가 이제 준비하는 건데요. 아까 지금 한국 상황은 사실은 유례없는 위기 상황이었습니다. 지난 연말과 이번 연초에 확진자 수가 일일 1000명이 넘어가면서 굉장히 큰 위기라 다음 학기를 어떻게 준비해야 될지 굉장히 지금 고민이 많은 상태입니다.
The university right now is in another the very confusing period because there are the very big increase the outbreak within Korea in December and January, the over the 1,000 people for almost 2 weeks. So we are preparing all different options now, as you can see, and we are discussing this one again and again at this time.
다행히 최근 며칠 한 4, 5일 사이에 굉장히 상황이 호전되고 있습니다. 한 1000명 이상에서 지금 한 600명대로 며칠간 지속적으로 줄어들었습니다.
I am hopeful because we got a little better last like 4 days under the 1,000 around 600 to 700 right now, so hopefully we got better.
다음 학기는 일단은 이게 지금 잘못 나왔는데 2021년 서머 세메스터인데 저기 스프링 세메스터인데 프린트가 잘못 나왔습니다. 죄송합니다. 지금 다음 학기는 어쨌든 간에 우리가 오프라인 수업까지도 준비를 하고 있습니다.
This is the screen, but I need to fix that. This is 2021 spring semester plan. Okay, and hopefully we could have number 4, which is online and offline blended class in the spring semester, new year.
아마 백신이 보급이 되고 상황이 좀 호전되면은 충분히 오프라인으로도 수업이 중간고사 이후쯤에는 가능하지 않을까 그런 기대를 하고 있습니다.
We hope the function of vaccine and the other treatment, provided in the world, and we hope, we can get back to the offline class after the midterm, which will be around like end of April.
이제 사실 가장 중요한 건데요. 학생들의 불만이 굉장히 많이 터져 나왔어요.
This is the most important thing as an educator. I think there has been a lot of complaints from the students about this online class.
그래서 실제로 학생들의 평가가 어떤지를 수치화하는 자료를 제가 가지고 나왔습니다.
I think that is why I'm trying to provide some statistics, we got from the students about this online class.
여기 2012년부터의 자료인데요. 요 기독교 2의 32개 분반의 평균 점수고요. 요거는 학부대학 전체 교과목들의 평균 점수입니다.
This is the statistics about the class satisfaction rate by the student. As you can see, it is the report from the year 2012. The first column, is about the intro to Christianity. And the second column is the average of all the classes within university college.
상대적으로 기독교 2의 평가가 다른 일반 과목들보다는 낮습니다.
Usually the average of intro to Christianity class is the lower than the regular common university college, the regular classes.
왜냐면은 기독교 수업은 의무적으로 들어야 하는 수업인데 학생들이 이런 의무적으로 듣는 수업에 대한 반감이 있고 또 한국 개신교에 대한 비판적인 태도가 있기 때문에 기독교의 수업의 점수가 상대적으로 낮습니다.
The reason for this is because the school requires all university students to take this intro to Christianity class. So people has a little complaint about it. And also there has been the several negative impression or reputation about the Korean church, especially the Protestant church among the young generation. And that is why this is showing.
더군다나 기독교의 수업은 작은 분반이 50명, 큰 분반은 이제 110명을 기준으로 이루어지는데 다른 분반들은 대개 20명, 30명 단위의 그런 작은 분반들이라 상대적으로 학생 큰 분반으로 이루어진 기독교의 수업은 점수가 좋지 않을 수밖에 없습니다.
Another reason for that is because the Intro to Christianity class has the 32 different division, and the division, each division has 50 to 100 students within the division. In comparison to most of other classes is the 20 to 30, the student within the division. And that big, large number of students within one division class, and that is making the people, the number and evaluation a little lower than the other.
지난 1년 동안 온라인으로 수업이 진행되면서 학생들이 좋은 평가를 하기보다는 항상 불만만을 토로해냈었습니다.
During the semester, okay, and a lot of students were complaining for the changed format and style, and we expected, okay, there will be a lot of negative comments and a lot lower the evaluation.
근데 여기서 이 통계에서 볼 수 있듯이 이건 굉장히 놀라운 발견인데요. 최근 10년 사이에 지난 온라인으로 진행된 학기의 점수가 가장 높았습니다. 5점 만점에 4.23점을 받았습니다.
But it was the very different and the shocking result, we got after the survey, and it was the highest, the satisfaction level, the 4.23 out of 5 point the total, okay, and it was the highest, among almost the 10 years.
이번 학기, 지난 바로 직전 학기, 가을 학기는 아직 공식적으로 발표가 되진 않았는데 제가 알아봤더니 4.24점이었습니다.
And even the fall semester, got little, higher, and with the 4.24.
우리가 굉장히 위기라고 생각했던 그 시기에, 그리고 가장 교육이 잘 이루어지지 못했다라고 생각했던 바로 그 시기에 오히려 학생들의 수업 만족도는 가장 높았다라고 하는 그런 결과가 나타났습니다.
Although many professors really worried about the quality of education because of online style, and we never expected that, but based on these statistics, I think we can think, the student, really satisfied with the result of the education provided through online.
이제 팬데믹도 언젠가는 끝날 거고요. 바라건대 이번 돌아오는 학기에는 오프라인으로 학생들을 만날 수 있기를 바라고 있고, 혹시 그게 안 된다 하더라도 가을 학기에는 학생들과 오프라인에서 만날 수 있지 않을까 그런 기대를 합니다.
As a conclusion, I really hope, we could go back to our offline education in spring semester, but at least within the fall semester.
팬데믹 상황이 진정된다 하더라도 이 도표가 시사하는 점은 우리가 완전히 옛날로 돌아갈 것이 아니라 이제 새로운 상황에 맞는 그러한 교육의 어떤 개편이 필요하지 않나 그런 생각을 하도록 합니다.
But something I'm trying to deliver to you as a result of my survey and the research, I'm trying to tell you, and even though, we might go back to the offline classes completely and that it will be safe, but I think we got to take this one seriously and seriously accepting this online education format within our university education system.
네, 그래서 이제 다시 새로운 상황에서는 오프라인 뿐만 아니라 이 온라인 교육이 또한 우리 대학 교육에, 고등교육에 굉장히 큰 도움이 될 수 있을 거라고 생각하고요. 이것을 좀 더 적극적으로 수용하고 또 발전시킬 필요가 있지 않나 그런 생각을 하면서 강의를 마치도록 하겠습니다.
think that is why the online education we experience not by our intention, but by other force, but we learn something and how beneficial it could be. And that is why I'm suggesting, I think we need to think about seriously about inclusion of this online education for the future of the university education. And thank you for listening my talk about this education.
고맙습니다.
Thank you. So let us give our hands, to Dr. Min, and maybe we are almost the time. So maybe I'm going to open the chat about the question. So Dr. Min, if you can check out the Q&A on the bottom, and there are the several questions, and maybe, we're going to try one or two, okay, over there.
The last question actually is very interesting, and I had a similar question. The last question is about how does the grade school cope with education in the pandemic? And I also wonder if the elementary schools and the middle schools and high schools, did they continue in the pandemic? I would love to hear. We have one of the attendees who asked, and I also have the same question. Dr. Min.
어떤 것을 아까 지금 굉장히
지금 맨 마지막 거를 부탁하셨는데
맨 마지막 게
작은 아이들, 그러니까 초등학교나 이렇게 어린 아이들 가운데는 한국에서 어떤 식으로 진행이 됐는지 좀 궁금하시다.
근데 안 보여.
맨 아래가 뭐라고 돼 있냐면요. 지금 초등학교 선생님이나 이런. 예.
지금 그러니까 초등학교에서 어떻게 교육이 이루어지고 있는가? 사실 저는 초등학교 교육에 대해서는 잘 모릅니다. 우리 애들도 이미 다 대학생들이고 그래서 관심을 갖지는 못했습니다. 그냥 뉴스로 듣기로는
to be honest, I'm not that interested in the, that grade school education because, I'm in the university and also all my children are in the college level. But, there is, something I heard, from the news media.
한국 같은 경우는 이제 5단계로 방역 시스템이 구축되어 있는데 지금 현재 가장 높은 것에서 두 번째, 그러니까 1단계, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3 그렇게 돼 있는데 지금 수도권은 2.5단계로 학생들이 학교에 가지 않고 집에서 온라인으로 수업을 하는 것으로 알고 있습니다.
Okay, so we have the 5 different level, about how we deal with this pandemic by the Korean government, and we are the next to the highest level, out of 5, and we are at the level 4. Okay, and that's why we are not going anywhere right now. Okay, and staying home, and 100% online education is going on.
아마 며칠 내로 아마 일주일 정도 지나면은 2단계로 한 단계 이제 떨어질 것으로 기대를 하는데 그때 되면은 초등학교 학생들은 제가 알기로는 이제 반씩 나누어서 하루 걸러 하루씩 안 가는 날은 온라인으로 가는 날은 오프라인으로 그렇게 수업을 하는 것으로 알고 있습니다.
Yeah, because situation get better, in Korea, little by little. So, we are expecting the level will go down, within this week or next week. And in that case, they will go half to the school and they will stay. And also they're going to rotate. So everybody will be in the school, but, that's not gonna be the same students. So that is the detailed guideline, they are trying to do. From my point as a translator, and Korean government tried all different things, okay, blended one and online one and the rotating one. And so we are trying, everything, but we are trying to keep the offline style as much as possible. And Korea was able to do it, and we are very fortunate for it.
Okay. I think we should all give a big thanks to Dr. Min for his presentation and also to Dr. Pike for his translation. Thank you very, very much. Wonderful. Thank you so very much. And it's time for us to move on to our next session. Our next session is from the Philippines, hosted by Wesleyan College of Manila. And our The MC for that session is going to be the president of Wesleyan College of Manila. I'd like to introduce Dr. Florita Miranda, who is also a member of the president of the APAME organization, which has been very supportive of this symposium as well. So, Dr. Miranda, I turn it over to you.
Thank you, Paul. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, world. Thank you for being with us in today's event. And of course, thank you for giving us the opportunity to be a part of the 6th Annual IAMSCU Research University Symposium. Thank you, Aoyama Gakuin, for sponsoring this meaningful connectional event. Now, two things were mentioned by our presenters a while ago about the digital technology that we are now using in education, the question of quality and trust. It is the same two things that are also at the forefront of Philippine accrediting agencies, the one ensuring that higher education will still have the quality that it has prior to this digital technology instruction. Now, we are so blessed to have with us an accreditor from the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, Commission on Accreditation, who has been actively accrediting universities and schools from all over the Philippines for the last 5 years. He also happens to be the director of the Office of Student Affairs of Wesleyan College of Manila. And he will talk about remote virtual accreditation, a technology-driven technique employed by PACOCOA, or the accrediting agency that he has been working with. So ladies and gentlemen, let us give a big hand to Professor Vladimir Miranda, our next presenter.
Hello, good afternoon and good morning to all. So today I'm going to present to you a industry or a sector in the education that is not usually observed, but it plays a vital role in what we're talking about here. No, we're talking about the changes in education. We're talking about the changes in methodology and instruction. So it also comes that quality assurance should also be adapting to this kind of changes. So let me just share my screen first. Good day, I am Professor Vladimir Miranda from the Wesleyan College of Manila, and today I will be talking about the remote virtual accreditation by the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, Commission on Accreditation and Assessment. This paper is a partial study that explores the challenges that accrediting agencies have encountered as a result of the pandemic and discusses their approaches to retain quality assurance procedures without compromising them. I will discuss the following. First, the history of accreditation in the Philippines. Second, accreditation, legal basis, format, and process. Third, accreditation, facts and figures. Fourth, accreditation and COVID-19 global reaction. And fifth, PACOCOA and remote virtual accreditation. History of accreditation in the Philippines. Philippines is one of the countries to be the first to have an accrediting agency independent of the government. As early as 1949, the Department of Education issued the first public statements suggesting that quality assurance through private sector accreditation would be necessary to preserve, if not enhance, good tertiary education. In 1951, when Dr. Daniel Salcedo, then Assistant of Bureau of Private Schools, said that the stupendous task of maintaining desirable standards in private schools cannot be and should not be the job of the government alone. Hence, in the same year, the short-lived Philippine Accrediting Association, or PAA, was formed, but was unsuccessful due to the differences by its members. In June 27, 1953, the Catholic Education Association of the Philippines, or CIAP, took the first step in accreditation by using the tool created by the PAA. The CIAP later changes its name to the Philippine Accrediting Association of Schools, Colleges and University, or PAASCU, in order to make voluntary accreditation less perceived only for Catholic and private institutions. In 1973, the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities, Commission on Accreditation, or PACOCOA, was incorporated, followed closely in 1976 by the Association of Christian Schools and Colleges, Accrediting Association or ACSCAA. By 1977, due to the growing number of private accreditation agencies, the three groups were encouraged by the Fund for Assistance of Private Education or FAPE to organize themselves in one federation, thus giving birth to the Federation of Accrediting Agency of the Philippines or FAAP. In 1980, the Accreditation in Public Higher Education Institution was presented to the Philippine Association of State Universities and Colleges or PASO, which subsequently led to the creation of an independent body, the Accrediting Agency of Chartered Colleges and University in the Philippines or AACU. Due to the different nature of local colleges, as some of them are constructed by politicians, in 2003, the Association of Local Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation or ALCOCOA was created, and by 2005, the Commission on Higher Education formally recognizes the existence of the National Network of Quality Accrediting Agency made up of AACU and ALCOCOA. Thus, the Philippine accreditation can be summarized as followed: the Federation of Accrediting Agency of the Philippines, which is composed of PAASCU, PACOCOA, and ACSCAA, and for the National Network of Quality Accrediting Agencies or NNQAA, composed of AACUP and ALCOCOA. Traditionally and in practice, private Catholic schools avail PAASCU, private non-Catholic school to ACSCAA, while private non-sectarian goes to PACOCOA. For public schools, they either avail AACUP or ALCOCOA. Accreditation, legal basis, format, and process. The accreditation in the Philippines is guided by the CHEV CMO series of 2005, revised policies and guidelines on voluntary accreditation in aid of quality and excellence in higher education, which states that it is a process for assessing and upgrading educational quality of higher education institutions and programs through self-evaluation and peer judgment. Unlike the grant of recognition to operate a school or offer a curricular program which is done by the government, accreditation is private, voluntary, and using the standards above minimum requirements set by the government. Accreditation in the Philippines is voluntary in nature, unlike in other countries where it is part of the requirement. It is also not meant to compare one institution from one another. One cannot compare apples with oranges. Each institution has their own vision, mission, and the translation of this mission vision into learning outcomes is what being assessed or its fitness for purpose. Lastly, it is that done not that does not mean to antagonize those with no accreditation or make them perceive as having lower quality. This is true in the case of the University of the Philippines, which has few accredited programs but remain to be the top university in the Philippines. Accreditation simply assures that the institution has met more than the specified minimum requirements set upon by the government, hence enjoying its many benefits. Initially, accreditation begins with the filing of letter of intent to the respective agency by the HEI and submitting some of the basic government requirements. This is usually followed by a self-survey assessment where the institutions rate itself through the various areas. The number of areas to be rated differ on the level and of the programs to be accredited. Then an on-site visit follows where evidence verification, class observation, interviews with different stakeholders are conducted. Teams usually consist of 5 to 7 members, depending on the number of programs and levels to be accredited, and usually last 1 to 2 days. A report will be submitted to the accrediting body regarding their findings, which will be discussed also by the board. Once the board approves the recommendation of the team, it will then be submitted to CHED for final approval. In general, areas to be covered are faculty, which includes qualification, teaching experiences, and professional growth; instruction, which deals instructional processes, classroom management and academic performance, syllabus and curriculum, laboratory, which deals with the availability, adequacy, and status of instructional facilities for each program, library, which deals with holdings, listing, books, updating, and acquisition and utilization, student services for extracurricular activities, guidance, counseling, scholarships, placement, and follow-ups, social orientation and community, which deals with the community relations and social awareness involvement of the institution. Physical plant includes campus plan, building, classroom, and building services. Research, which deals with the creation of research culture within the institution for student, faculty, and staff. Philosophy and objectives, which includes the institution's mission and vision. Administration, which deals with the organization as a system. Accreditation undergoes different levels and processes. The first one is the candidate status, wherein which the programs that have at least undergone a preliminary survey visit and are certified by PAAP as being capable of acquiring accredited status within 1 to 2 years. No special benefit for this level. In level 1 and 2 are institutions that have satisfied additional criteria set upon by the accrediting agency. The following benefits for level 1 and 2 are full administrative deregulation, financial deregulation in terms of setting of tuition and other fees and charges, authority to revise curriculum without CHED approval, and priority in rewards of grants or subsidies or funding assistance from CHED or DepEd. On the other hand, level 2 requires additional RICH-R, a high standard of instruction, and highly visible community outreach programs. And any of the two of the following: 1. Highly visible research tradition. 2. Strong faculty development. 3. High creditable performance in licensure examinations. 4. Existence of working consortia with other schools or agencies. 5. Extensive and functional library and other learning resource facilities. Benefits of level 3 are all of the benefits for level 1 and 2, plus authority to offer new courses allied to existing level 3 courses without the need for prior approval, privilege to offer open learning and distance education, and privilege to offer extension classes and transnational education. Level 4 are those of the highest and are comparable to similar programs in excellent foreign universities, but also require more tedious criterion such as 1. Research as evidence in number, scope, impact of scholarly publication in referred local and international journals. 2. Teaching and learning as evidence in their graduates. 3. Community service and impact of contributions to the economic and social upliftment. 4. Evidence of international linkages and consortia. 5. Well-developed planning process with quality assurance mechanism. With the following benefits: grant of full autonomy for the program for the duration of its level 4 accredited status, authority to offer new graduate programs allied to existing level 4 courses, open learning distance education extension classes without need for prior approval, and all the benefits of level 1, 2, and 3. Accreditation, facts, and figures. This slide shows the distribution of private and public higher education institutions for the academic year 2019 and 2020. It can be noticed that 72% or 1,729 of the schools are private in nature, while the remaining 28% or 667 are public institutions. This slide shows the number of higher education institutions with accredited programs over the years. For 2016, 2017, and 2018, the percentage of HEI in the country that has accredited programs are at 27, 28, and 29% respectively. The annual growth rate of HEI having accredited programs for 2009 to 2018 is at 6.38%. This slide shows the accredited programs by level, with baccalaureate programs having the highest accreditation at 73%, followed by master's program with 16%. In terms of type of institution, 60.88% of the accredited programs are from private, while the remaining 39.12 are from public institutions. Based on the data, only for 2019 and 2020, majority of the accredited programs are in the candidacy level up to level 2 at 72%, while programs with level 3 to level 4 only constitute 28%. This is due to the fact that it has more stringent procedure and requirements. This slide shows the distribution of programs by accrediting agencies under the PAAP, with almost 57% from PAASCU, followed by PACOCOA with 30%, and ACSCAA at 13%. Some institutions like the De La Salle University and University of Santo Tomas both availed PACOCOA and PAASCU accreditations. Accreditation and COVID-19 global reaction. The COVID-19 pandemic has affected over 1.5 billion students in over 27 countries worldwide, forcing the immediate transfer from traditional to online modality in overnight. It has also impacted the accreditation process. Responses from different education networks and institution varies, as government and other stakeholders are seeking ways to ensure quality assurance will not cease. The following are consolidated surveys, studies, and articles on how different countries address the issue of accreditation. The Council for Higher Education Accreditation, which comprises of almost 3,000 institutions with over 60 accrediting agencies, conducted a survey last April with the following result. 37% of its members postponed their visit temporarily, 30% are offering virtual visit, 51% are doing both virtual and postponing of visits, and 71% are extending the terms of accredited status. Likewise, the European Association of Quality Assurance in Higher Education, formerly the European Network for Quality Assurance, encourages its members some flexibility in this time of crisis. A dedicated page for COVID-19 was also included in their website, and a survey among its members were also conducted. Based from the survey, most of their members are postponing or putting on hold regulatory external quality assurance processes, easing change reporting requirements, modifying regulations, adapting flexible interpretations and application of standards and criteria, and some are conducting virtual review approaches. Similarly, on the survey they conducted, 93% postponed their visit, 86% resorted to online visit, 29% extended the terms of accreditation. Last July, the Asia Pacific Quality Network, with almost 221 members across 41 countries, also conducted a survey with the following result. 42% in Asia and 35% in Europe are suspending their reviews. 17% in Asia and 32% in Europe are conducting remote external reviews, and 52% in Asia and 74% in Europe are now working remotely. PACOCOA and remote virtual accreditation. In the Philippines, around 28 million learners and over 2,400 schools are affected by this abrupt transition from face-to-face to flexible learning. New forms of teaching and methodology, such as synchronous and asynchronous, and new forms of assessment are being utilized by different schools, which can seriously impact learning delivery and quality. Hence, there is a need for quality assurance agencies to react and adjust in the situation. In July, the PAAP has approved the extension by 1 year on top of the grace period provided all of their accredited programs. In July 2020, PACOCOA ventured into its historic feat by conducting their first remote virtual accreditation with the pilot testing and simulation at the University of Mindanao. This was followed by the first calibration training for accreditation team and chairman on remote virtual accreditation with the National University, where accreditors experienced firsthand the new normal in accreditation. According to the National Quality Assurance, a remote audit is one that is conducted partially or completely off-site. It will cover everything that is usually covered on-site, but uses technology to support the assessor when a site visit is not possible or appropriate. Remote virtual accreditation are generally prescribed for level 3 and 4, while it is understudy for candidacy to level 2. The following are the steps for the RVA. In comparison with the old procedure, a meeting will be first conducted with the institution regarding the format, technical requirement, and procedure of the RVA. Accreditors will also conduct a preliminary meeting where all possible issues that may arise be discussed. This is followed by an online document verification where accreditors are given a chance to study all the documents before the day of the actual virtual visit. Methodology. For the purpose of the study, a qualitative design was used based on the guidelines of a phenomenologic approach. Phenomenology is where participants describe the experiences they have in a phenomenon, creating meaning through embodied perception. The fundamental goal of the approach is to arrive at a description of the nature of the particular phenomenon. The samples obtained here were from the recent remote virtual accreditation team, which participated in the Level 2 accreditation of the Medical Northern Colleges of the Philippines last October 2020, where the author was part of the accrediting team. This is just an initial assessment on the perception on the team on remote virtual accreditation by the Philippine Association of Colleges and Universities Commission on Accreditation, and further study may be carried out. Results and discussion. The sample has a mean of 6.25 years of experience in accreditation, 2 males and 2 females, with 2 doctorate and 2 master's degrees. All 10 areas were covered by the sample, namely philosophy and objectives, faculty, instructions, laboratory, research, library, physical plant and facilities, student services, and community extensions. The samples rated the following areas in Likert scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is very easy, 2 is easy, 3 is normal, 4 hard, and 5 very hard. The process of evidence verification, interviews, data gathering, report writing, and collaborations were used, as these were the principal activities in accreditation, and results were as the following. For evidence verification, it has a mean of 3.25 with the following observations. Corroboration on the evidence is hard to establish. Additional support for evidences is hard to obtain, such as those in community and student services. Accessibility and data privacy issues are also of a concern. For interviews with counterpart, has a mean of 3.25 with the following observations. Interview must be structured and question prepared beforehand. Technical skills required for breakout rooms. Inability to see the nonverbal gestures of the institutions. For data gathering and collection, has a mean of 3.25 with the following observations. Accessibility and easiness of obtaining data for community and student services is hard. Classroom observation and interview with students and staff seems challenging due to technical concerns, and some documents needed to be scanned and uploaded again and again. In report writing, has a mean of 2.75 with the following observations. Platform use is critical. Signing of documents seems challenging. Longer time for report writing. Easier method of report writing. Collaboration with co-accreditors as a mean of 2.0 with the following observations. Rapport development due to pre-visit meetings, more time to collaborate as we can work while having meeting, easier to interact with the co-accreditor. On the questions regarding do you think the quality of evaluation is somehow affected by this approach, 100% of the respondents agree. While on the question, do you think an on-site follow-up visit should be required, 75% of the respondents agreed. On the question, do you think remote virtual accreditation can be part of the new normal in accreditation process, almost all sample agreed at 100%. Results, strengths in remote virtual accreditation. Some of the observations by the samples are, for strengths, no more lengthy travel. 2, in virtual accreditation, there is focus and direction. And 3, since it's pandemic, we work at home. And 4, it is easier to do numerical rating. There is more time to interact with co-accreditors. For opportunities for improvement, 1, platforms to be used if possible be standardized for easier navigation by accreditors. 2, I cannot avoid that there is an item that is the effect of face-to-face physical scenario, but there are remedies to effective collaboration among accrediting teams. 3, online document verification is also an issue. And 4, I believe that the classroom observation needs modification. It is easier to verify it in a face-to-face encounter. Conclusion. Based from the result, remote virtual accreditation is the new normal for PACOCOA. It is now often referred to as the blended or hybrid accreditation. In US, Western Association of School Colleges, in their 8 remote interviews conducted, the feedback was positive for both accreditors and school. In Ukraine, a survey conducted where 78% of the experts has expressed outcomes of the online evaluations are the same or even better than of the face-to-face. In Europe, in a study, 97% of the participants expressed confidence in the result of remote accreditation. In a study by PACOCOA under Dr. Dante Silva of Mapua, similar results can be obtained. Remote virtual accreditation and face-to-face can yield the same accreditation results. As the saying goes, new problem needs to have new solution. Many have led to believe that such paradigm shift in education requires the use of ICT as a necessary tool in this new normal. This consequently led to many structural reforms in education, especially in maintaining and monitoring quality assurance. After all, we cannot evaluate something new using an old tool. This event has also led us to re-examine not only the shortcomings and vulnerabilities, but also the opportunities and potential that is in front of us in quality assurance. Remote virtual accreditation is not new. In fact, studies by Harris, Fukasawa, and Washizaki in 2018 and Siwi at 2020 all believe that full and effective utilization of ICT in quality assurance has shown positive and mutual benefits for both the HEIS and quality assurance agencies. In India, for example, the National Assessment Accreditation Council has launched their Student Satisfaction Survey, Self-Survey Report, and Annual Quality Assurance Report via online. The agency has developed their own data validation and verification process where any variation from the result will be consulted to the institution. The Beijing Institute of Technology introduced a higher education monitoring evaluation, a new higher education quality assessment technology that uses modern information technology to frequently collect relevant data and visually present the status of higher education, providing an objective basis for value judgment and scientific decision-making. In Russia, the National Accreditation Agency has already started moving to electronic format as required by their government, with the development of the State Accreditation Information System, a collection of personal accounts of higher education institutions. Of course, we have to address the significant issues such as the ICT infrastructure in the Philippines, training and skills among stakeholders, data privacy, policies and framework for RPA among accrediting agencies, internet speed, accessibility and cost, and others. In the end, quality assurance needs to be constantly updated and evaluated, meticulously monitored, and most of all, flexible and relevant to this changing world. I will end my paper with what we usually say to institutions undergoing accreditation. Quality is not a destination, it is a journey. This COVID journey is no exception. I believe we are at a crossroad and we must not lose our way. We are part of history right now, and how we react is very crucial. Let us learn and earn from this. We, everyone in the education industry, students, parents, teachers, administrators, government, private organization, industry, must work together so we can make it together towards a new and hopefully better normal, not only for us, but for the future generation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Miranda. Well said. Quality is definitely not a destination, but a journey that we are taking today as we move on to find new means by which we will be able to maintain quality in this digital world. So at this point, do we have questions, Paul?
So we are open now to take questions from our participants or other panelists. Actually, if there's not another question in the queue, I have one that I was thinking of while I was listening. First, let me say Dr. Miranda is a very interesting talk to learn about accreditation and the issues of doing accreditation during COVID. I was wondering, how does the quality of the internet connection affect accreditation for the schools? I'm sure that some schools have very high quality internet connection, but others have very low quality, and that would make a big difference in what they could do at the school. So does the quality of the internet connection, whether they have a good connection or not, does that affect accreditation? Is that something that accreditation looks at?
Well, in fact, even during the before COVID-19, one of the things that we're also looking into institution is if they are internet ready and the speed of their internet. Because in quality assurance, we believe that one way of being able to become an internet, one way to move to internationalization of the schools is through connectivity, and that is through internet. So somehow, even now, especially now in the COVID, the internet connection is very, very important factor in accreditation. Um, Actually, it can be good and bad. For example, right now, due to the internet connectivity, we can be able to do some visits faster compared to before. For example, we can now connect, like last time, the accreditation was held in Cagayan, which is usually it will take us 2 to 3 days to do that accreditation, but we only did it in 1.5 day. And this is due to the fact because of the internet connectivity. But the thing is, the Philippines is still lagging behind in terms of ICT and internet. But hopefully, when everyone is connected and internet is better, accreditation will follow also.
And I see that we have a question in our Q&A. I'll go ahead and read the I'll read the question. This is from one of our participants, from Melvin Mojika. Sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly. Who writes, I understand that accreditation and quality assurance is applicable mostly in the university. How about in the elementary level? What ways can be done for quality assurance in the elementary level?
Actually, it's not only for university level. Accreditation is also applicable to elementary and high school level. It's just that most of the programs that are being accredited are at the tertiary level. Right now, again, no, because of the new mode of instructions that we are having, actually, PAASCO is no longer doing accreditation from for since March up to next year. So different accrediting bodies are doing various ways on coping on this pandemic, but PACOCOA is doing the RVA. We're doing the same thing with elementary. We are looking at the 10 areas. So there is just now a big task on how we can evaluate instructions because online modalities is not something that is common in the Philippines now. How can we ensure that the online modalities can really deliver quality education to their students? So that's a big question now. But nonetheless, elementary and secondary and tertiary, we accredit them the same way.
And I just noticed on our Q&A, we have a question in Japanese. So I'll tell you what, I'll read this and translate it into English for you. 学生から課題が多すぎてレポート書くのに、追われてるとコメントが多いのです。書きやすいように小テスト形式やアンケートを、使ってますが、他に工夫がありますでしょうか。So from the student's perspective in Japan, there's the complaints that since the transition to online education, there's too many assignments. Just writing reports is very hard, and they have to write too many reports and comments. So isn't it better to do things with easy to answer format, using the quizzes or some sort of survey features? What do you think about this problem with how the student life has changed under COVID?
Well, I guess, new things really takes time for us to get used to it. No, I mean, everything that we're enjoying right now, it started for us before. It's really hard for us, but eventually, as time goes by, we adjust to the reality that everything is changing, and we must change with it. No, but again, as an accreditor, we really have to also again, talk to our students, talk to our parents, because the quality assurance accreditors don't have all the answers. What we just do is we just take all your point of view, everything that we can all learn from this pandemic, and be able to apply it to our school. In the end, everyone should have a say. Everyone should have a say, and everyone can what do you call this? And so that everyone can benefit, everyone has to say. So I think we're in the learning stage. Let's just be patient with it, and let's understand each other. I mean, this pandemic is not. It's going to be, of course, it's going to be soon. We just don't know when. But now that we're here, we just enjoy the journey. We learn from it. We understand from it, and just show the best practices that we have. And maybe after this, we will become stronger as a education industry.
Okay. I think that we're just about time to move on to the next session. I don't see any other questions in our queue. So why don't we all give a big hand to Vladimir Miranda for his wonderful presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you. It's very, very interesting. And let me just take one moment that we have a minute here and say that it's wonderful to have so many people participating in our webinar. We have 172 participants online on the webinar. We also have about 200 people who are listening online on YouTube Live as well. At one time, we had close to 400 listening on YouTube as well. So for this symposium today, we've had about 600 people participating. And it's really wonderful to see lots of people literally from all over the world coming together for an event like this. It's interesting that we're raising the problems of the pandemic today, but this event is also because of the good things that have come out of this. If it wasn't for the pandemic, we would not have made this transition, and we wouldn't have 500 or 600 people joining for this event today. So with that comment, let's transition on to our India session from Lucknow, India. This session is hosted by Isabella Thorburn College, one of the oldest women's college in India, 130 years old, I think. And we have two wonderful speakers there. Our host, who will be our MC from Isabella Thorburn College, is Nirja Masi, who is a member of the board of directors of the APAME Asia Pacific Organization. She's also a professor at the college. So Professor Masi, I'll let you take over from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Paul. Am I audible? Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Paul, for the introduction and giving this opportunity. And I bring greetings to you all from Isabella Thorburn College, and I welcome you all to this session. And I was just wondering that only when we all were contemplating, when we think about the ICT and the AI, that whether we should, like, how fast we should adopt it, how much we should adopt it, and how it is going to affect the humanity, or how it is going to affect the society or the social transformation, came the COVID-19 situation, and we just went overboard. We knew that there is no other option but to adopt the ICT tools as well as the AI. And with this, I congratulate all of us for choosing this theme, and also for all the participants to have come from all across the globe and to be on the same platform and discuss on these issues. So this morning, it is my, this is good afternoon in India, in Lucknow, and it is my privilege to introduce the first speaker of this segment, Dr. Reverend Ravi Tiwari. He is a graduate in Science and Divinity and Masters in Philosophy, and he has been the Vice President of Theology Department, Serampur College, Principals of the John Robert Theological Seminary, Dean of Gurukul Luthera Theological College and Research Institute, Chennai, Registrar of Senate of Serampur College University. And he is a writer, and he has been the writer and director of the popular radio program, and he has authored many books. So without being in between, Dr. Reverend Tiwari, and also I would like to add that he is the ordained minister of the MCI. So I welcome Dr. Reverend Tiwari for his lecture.
Thank you and welcome to this program. I can't say good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, because you are a global audience and all are waking up, and I'm grateful that I have been given this opportunity to share a few thoughts. Now, pandemic has thrown us in tantrum, and the educationist, pandemic has come. Is it clear? My voice is clear? Yes. So this pandemic has affected the educationist, I suppose, the most. Perhaps because our traditional way of imparting education is now very much questioned, and our outreach to the maximum number of students have been very much limited. It has many logistic problem, and then we are still facing. I'm glad that some of the speakers prior to me belongs to the Asian continent, and they have given us a picture in which we all are struggling in the Asian continent, from Japan to Korea, and now we have heard from the Philippines. I've been involved in the as a registrar for accrediting many institutions to our institution in theology, and therefore I very much appreciate Dr. Miranda's paper and the explanation he has given. His statistic shows, as well as from Professor Min from Korea, that things are working, and in a very short period in the process of communication of education, and the classes from undergraduate to the graduate and postgraduate levels are being conducted. Now, somebody has rightly questions, what about the education system in the lower part of our strata in educational? This means primary and the secondary and the post-secondary level of education. I'm told now, I see my 5-year grandnephew is struggling in front of his mobile or laptop, and the teacher is teaching them. So I see that. And a few months ago, I myself took class for the first time, which I have never done in my earlier life as a teacher. Oh, is it all right?
We can hear you again now.
Yes. This is another problem which was whether this internet connections are easily available to the students, and Paul is smiling, that is, I'm sure he's not, he has this kind of problem, and this is the new kind of problem in our imparting education. So I was talking to you about the PhD level, when we have this way of communicating our ideas to our doctoral candidate, then perhaps it is different. But we also face the same problem of the physical part of it. And those of us who have brought up to the empirical school of thought and the education, where experiences are the one which teaches our students, and that kind of a physical relationship, physical seeing, not the virtual, though not the virtual as we see each other, though we see, we smile, we try to understand what the people are saying, but there are a lot of differences in our opinion. Now, I've been given some time to reflect upon the social transformation in the Asian perspective. As I mentioned, that our friends from the Southeast Asian countries have brought out some of the perspectives in which they are struggling to communicate in this era of pandemic. We are also thinking how much the whole system will change in education, in our whole approach to education, and this what we are learning within a short period of 1 year, which has given us such a horrible time, I suppose, to adjust ourselves. In the first, I remember the first few months were just a difficult thing for every educational institution, where theological or non-theological secular education, we had this problem. And now more or less schools, colleges are coming to some kind of adjustment. And I'm sure that what experience we are gaining in this during this pandemic, especially the virtual kind of educational system, where this may be another way of, perhaps we have the earlier we have a system in which the external student studies were conducted. and most of the universities started non-residential studies, and now we have a non-class studies in a different way, and this is going to stay with us even after pandemic. Now, problem comes for us, as we have said, that it is social transformation. If the education is used, or if this virtual education is being used, will have to be should have to be thought in a very scientific and in the methodical way. And I propose that we have to rethink whole of our educational system and philosophy and mission anew. There is a new paradigm now, and the paradigm shift which has taken place is going to be shift, as we have saying, transformation in a very different way, and it will be forcing us to the new ways of thinking, new ways of imparting education, and new phase of learning things in that. So whole thing have to be transformed. I'm using the same word, and therefore I'm suggesting that we should have to think very openly and perhaps very seriously the whole process which we are now learning or we are going through, and to analyze it and reformulate ourselves. And this is what it means. Now, we in the because this social analysis and sociology is the subject which has come out in the last centuries, which has given a very different understanding of society, both from the Marxist understanding or analysis of society to the very liberal, the American schools of sociologies, which have introduced a separate subject of sociology. And so therefore, we have now a different understanding of society. And I'm glad that we Asian people are here, and then we also know that the understanding of society is completely different for us than what we have been given from the Western, I will say from the Latin, and therefore that from that understanding, and we go back to the deeper into the understanding of society from a Roman or the Latin understanding, where it is, or the Greek understanding, gymnasia, or it is a socius, that kind of a thing, where group of people are understood to be a part of society and limited to some cultures and all that, when all joined together. We different people or different living in the different parts of Asia have a different understanding, self-understanding, what we say, of society as such. I will give one example, because we don't have the word society, neither we have the same understanding of society as the Greco-Roman understanding has given, and so also those who are coming later on developed it from the Western understanding, and therefore that has to be thought out completely differently. And therefore, so the social transformation, which we are, so also the word transformation, which is also Latin in origin, and therefore we have to go to the deeper understanding of transformation, which is trans and forms, and therefore two words which are completely going beyond change, mutation, that all can be used. And these, whether we have to see the what changes which are being taken place in society have to be, can be classed under that, and therefore transformation has to be thought out in a different way. Now, it is not a change of any sort. Perhaps society as we see today will remain remain the same perhaps in the post COVID period, and therefore we may have to yet we have to take a fresh look on the word transformation. How it is not only transformation, those who are coming from a Hindu or from a Buddhist background will see that it relates to something completely new. It is a transformation in the sense that a worm becomes pupa and becomes butterfly. Now they are not the same in nature, and therefore transformation is taken to be that. Uh, I understand that we have a New Testament scholar. He was talking about he was talking about the pandemic and the effect on the some of the theological points he have point out. I also want to bring out that word where the Paul talks about transformation in Romans 2. Now there it is a transformation of the mind, nous, and going back to the understanding of the Greek mind. But here is a completely society has to be changed into something new, and that is something what is to be the goal of our education system. And I'm sure that the new experiences which we are having, uh, quite understanding that in our Asian context, it is the whole of internet or the apparatus which are being used for the virtual education is not available to everyone, especially of the so-called developing nation. Even in India, though we will find the mobile to the poorest of the poor people with them, but we also hear the children be committing suicide because their parents could not give them a mobile phone or the smartphone so they can have the education, virtual education from. So we have to make also think of something by which this virtual education, which we are talking about, which Dr. Miranda is talking about, the affiliation, accreditation. Along those lines, will it be available to everyone of the students in our system all over the world? It is not only for a few, but for Dr. Miranda has pointed out that most of the education system now, as far as it is true in almost all the about 80, 70 or 80% of education system is in private hand. So one can see that how costlier it is becoming for the education to be imparted to the least of the people. So I'm sure that we will continue to make efforts to make the education, virtual education, available to all in the post-pandemic period also. I think I've taken almost my time. I should stop it now, and the questions can be raised, and I'm willing to answer if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Reverend Ravi Tiwari. Thank you very much for your talk. And I can see that in the QA, I can't see any question, but after the second lecture, if there are any, we can take on.
Yes.
Is it okay?
Yes, yes.
So I would like to now take this opportunity to introduce our second speaker of this segment. And our second speaker is Mrs. Viana Day, and she is a practicing structural engineer. And with over 25 years of experience in designing and wetting of RCC and steel structures. So, as we were always thinking that this is a global platform wherein we are all from, like, right from theology to academicians to administrators. So now we have an engineer and who is very much into science and technology, and she and when I spoke to her, she describes herself as a child of living God and a student for life. So I think it will be wonderful to hear her out, and I welcome Mrs. Viana Day. Over to you.
Safe and a healthy new year to all of you, esteemed panelists and guests, students, professors. The topic for today is new challenges in the post-COVID world in the field of education. So before I jump into my topic, some statistics. But in no way am I trying to paint a negative picture of my country. So the world's population is 7.7 billion approximately. And in India, we are about 1.3 billion. And out of which the UN says 2/3 of the Indians are poor. That is approximately 68.8% of Indians live in poverty. UNESCO states that 1,570 million students were affected due to this pandemic throughout the world, of which there were 320 million students who were affected in India. And when I say students, I mean from the elementary level even up to post-graduation level. So if we do some maths, approximately we have about 210 million students who are needy. And out of which, if we talk about higher education, I can say that about 50%, that is about 110 million students, need support. So one of my first challenges, artificial intelligence and information communication technology is not affordable. So cost of equipment is not affordable. The cost of data package per month is not affordable. When I say not affordable, I'm talking about each house having, say, 4 to 5 kids. And some of the parents have lost their jobs or they've not been paid the full salary. So it is very, very difficult. Then in the absence of libraries, in the absence of access to libraries, I mean, even the digital and the libraries at the universities, it is very difficult for higher education students to try and do their assignments or to ponder through the books. So what can we do as a society? And I feel that somewhere along the line, people in authority need to twist some arms. We need to garner support from the community and from the employers to find out students who need financial support. When I say students, I mean the students who are really in need of support. And my second most important challenge is comprehensive network coverage. As per Better India website and other statistics, the network penetration in India is only 50%. And in rural India, where most of the people stay, 68.8% of the rural India, the network coverage is only 25.3%. So there is a great need. How can you attend online classes when you don't have a network? How can you even browse through any books? when you don't have network. And students, especially who live near the border between states, between countries, are facing immense problems because constantly the signals sometimes are banned, sometimes there are no signals, or sometimes the signals are buffering. And I was experiencing that even from the beginning of our program, that sometimes the speaker just froze. And we had a problem. And we are quite well-to-do compared to so many millions. And we are having problems. Just imagine people, students living, especially I remembered a student from Ladakh who's from our university. He said that it's so difficult. He's not even able to log into the online class. That is the major problem. The second in that, the same segment is the problem of power supply. It is erratic, and in some places there's no power supply. How do you even charge your mobiles? How do you charge your laptops? Leave alone attending classes. And my third most important challenge is the society's apathy. And before I dwell into this subject, I would narrate to you a small story. I'm talking about a 19-year-old girl, or you can say teenager, named Aishwarya Reddy. And this girl got a percentage of 98.5 in her 12th grade. And she got admission into one of the most prestigious colleges of India and took Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics as her subject. And she aspired to become a civil servant. The COVID-19 pandemic started, and in the panic mood, hostels were closed. She had to return home, and she was finding it difficult to do her studies, her assignments on a mobile phone. And the family was already in debt. A father was a mechanic, a mother was a tailor. But she still thrived. And the father said that he will take a loan to buy a second-hand laptop. But one fine day, she wrote a letter and she ended her life. And it really shook most of us. A 12th grader who passes out with 98.5% just ends her life because she has no wherewithal to complete her studies. Another girl, she said, when I read about Aishwarya Reddy's suicide, it shook me so hard. Fortunately, my family earns enough that my brother doesn't have to worry about the things Aishwarya did. But our education system must ensure this doesn't happen to anyone else, unquote. So my problem is society's apathy. Are the institutions truly concerned about the needy students? I'm not talking about the elite. I'm not talking about the big private schools where children can afford a good education. They already have the built-in systems. They have more than half a dozen phones and laptops for various things. Is the institution addressing children who are needy, the poor students? And most of these students are on scholarships. And during pandemic, either the scholarships were stopped, they were not given, or they were difficult to access. They had to go to a particular place to get their checks, and those employees were absent. So it made life very difficult for many students. And secondly, students come from rural India. So some universities have started offline classes, but where will these rural students live? When the hostels are not functioning, they can't afford to take hotel accommodation or a PG accommodation close to the place of study. Then there is the society's apathy when I say is that we have not done enough to have digital libraries available to students. We have not provided them enough wherewithal to say that, okay, here is a place where you can come and look at some books, you can verify, you can sit. Here is a network that we can arrange for. My other challenges are in the education, the post-COVID world is it viable for all fields of education? Maybe humanities and some branches of economy, economics and arts, maybe we could have online classes, but what about the medical fraternity? What about the engineering fraternity, where you need online experience, when you need online training, when you have to have a feel of the texture of the material that you're working with, where you need to deal with equipment, whether it's the theodolite machines, whether it's the survey machines, or whether it is the universal testing machines, where you calibrate, where you understand the different know-hows of materials. How do we go about this with online classes? That is a big challenge for most of the universities, which they're not addressing. 1 year, 6 months have passed by and students have no practical classes. What do they do? And you don't understand some subjects if you don't do your practicals. That comes from my experience that I'm talking, that most of the theory part remains a theory unless you do some practicals. And then the challenge is gender bias. In our country, sadly, in my country, my beautiful country, there is a gender bias. And when I say gender bias, even after the post-COVID, it has increased. Now parents are saying that they're going to educate their boy child and not their girl child, which is really, really sad. And the girl child also have a potential to blossom into a beautiful human being, to be an asset to the society, and it's been nubbed in the buds. That we need to consider. Then there is the challenge of the health problem. Children are constantly being looking at a small mobile, and when I'm talking, I'm speaking mostly from the needy child's perspective. They're having to look into that small mobile and attend online classes, which is training their eyes. And secondly, most of the children are becoming lonely and depressed. Most of the children. And online classes are making us more distant. For some children, offline classes were the only outing in their lives. That was the only place they went to study. And now, with no offline classes, the distance is growing between the rich and the poor. So, in conclusion, what I would like to say and put forth is some points for us to ponder. The Bible talks in Luke chapter 10, verses 30 to 35 about a good Samaritan. So you could go and read through it once again. So these are some points to ponder, and in no means I'm trying to offend anybody, or I'm trying to, this may be difficult for some people, but I need to put it across. How many classmates' names can we recollect? And to someone who's teaching, how many children can you recall by name? Do we know what background they come from? Are we willing to give our time to help a friend, to teach a friend? Are we willing to sponsor a less privileged student in any form? Maybe giving them a digital library membership, maybe buying some books online. Are we willing to share our books, our hard copies, or give them some books to someone in need? Can we reduce our pocket money and help somebody else? Are we willing to spend some time to talk to somebody who's feeling lonely? During pandemic, one thing many students shared was they were lonely. In our busy schedule, let's find some time to lift someone's spirit. Remember, Jesus said, when you give a glass of water in my name, you have done it unto me. And when we do certain things like the Good Samaritan, you may not be recognized by anybody. But at the end of the day, I feel a kind person is a happy person. So let us help somebody today. Each one, let us help one. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Viana. And actually, I can see that everyone is very becoming very emotional. And we all understand that this technology has actually uh, increased the gap between the haves and the have-nots. We all definitely agree. And any kind of, there was discrimination, like even we talk about gender, it has increased that gap also. So it is high time that we all, thought about it and how to minimize this. So with this, I think I would like to close this session. I thank both the speakers.
Can we talk? Can we ask a few questions first? I think we
Yeah,
have time
sure,
for a couple
sure.
questions.
We have.
So we
Yes,
can
we have.
invite questions through the Q&A session. Actually,
If
today's
I ca-
at today's symposium, we've had different speakers, and the last two speakers approached this from different perspective, and it was so helpful to hear this from a different perspective. Looking at the issue from the perspective of the poor, who can't get the technology, who are really suffering, and the psychological issues, you really just touched on very important issues that we had not addressed before today. I'm sure that some other of our panelists will have questions as well, but I just want to comment that this was really an important contribution to our discussion today. And I think we have a question. Can you see the question,
in the queue,
Dr. Masi?
yes, actually, I have two comments like that they can feel it very much, and they can relate to it. From one from Untalam and one from Willer. There are two people, they have just commented that they can actually relate to it and feel it. And in the chat, if I see if there is any question.
There's one more new question. Can you look at open the questions again, the Q&A. There's one more question.
Q&A,
Just
okay.
came in.
No, I can't see any question. Open, it is. Can you read it if you can see? In my Q&A, there are none.
I just sent it to you in the chat.
In the chat? Okay. Okay, but apart from the issue of connectivity and gadgets, technical knowledge and the economic status of the learners and parents, my greatest concern and challenge as an educator is the authenticity and validity of the learner's assessment and evaluation. How can we be assured of the honesty of the answers if we don't see them because everything is online? So this is one concern. Anybody would like to take this question, like Reverend Tiwari or Viana?
So why don't you say something? Tiwari sir?
Me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. This has been a problem. Dr. Miranda is also here. Both the Mirandas. We have this problem even for the regular students who writes written examination as such. And now we have introduced some kind of interviews kind of examination also, where you can see whether the students has grasped the subject. Asian students are very good in memorizing things. So whether it is a kind of plagiarism or their own something of their own mind, it is very difficult to say. The best student everywhere in spelling or in America are Indians, because they can learn it very fast in that way. So this is the problem. I am also seeing that the way in which the open examination were conducted also, with the books you can take, and that it is a very difficult question of evaluation. That is, I don't think we will be able to have the correct evaluation of person. One can give either 50-50 chances written as well as for the year, but then this pandemic has opened a new way of interaction with the students. This we have to and perhaps we may have to incorporate these ways in our examination system. That is, or the whole idea of examination have to be changed, I suppose. That how it has to be changed, I think we old people, the educationists of the older schools are still in the process of learning. Paul is smiling. How can we can learn from it, and how can we can transfer it or transform ourselves, and our examination is something yet to come. We have to work, I suppose.
I think it goes. I think it goes down to that level only. Then again, we have to uh, uh, give importance to the value system, because until and unless their ethics and the value system is in place, I think this will be taken care of. I mean, that is the only way. Self-consciousness and self-correction, and that's the only way out.
Yeah. I
Thank
think,
you.
yeah, and I think that we are just about out of time for this session. We're almost out of time for the whole symposium. So let's all give a big hand to the two speakers for our India session. This has been very, very interesting. It's so good to hear perspectives from around the world. This is great. I think we get the kind of perspective from different areas that we can only get with this kind of international participation. So thank you so much for our speakers from India. And we need to have some short announcements, and I'd like Dr. Youngmin Paik to give some short announcements.
Thank you, Paul. And first of all, I want to give the big thanks, to Aoyama Gakuin University and Dr. Shew, and also all the speakers and participants for this wonderful IAMSCU Research University Symposium. So let us give our thanks, to everyone. I'm very glad, we have this opportunity. Okay. Actually, I'm speaking, from, these two organizations behind, this symposium together with Aoyama Gakuin University. And we are the part of Asia Pacific Association of Methodist-related educational institutions, which is APAME, okay? And also that is a part of International Organization of Methodist-related School. So we are representing all those connections within here, and Aoyama Gakuin is also part of it. Yonsei, the Isabella Dorban, and also Wesleyan College of Manila. All of those are the network, within this Methodist education. So I'm trying to tell you, we are trying our best to be there and to be here, for you, to support you, to enhance our education together, and also creating this kind of interactive, like academic, okay, the conversation among us, so that we can improve each other. So I really appreciate all of your willingness to be here, and also that we will continue this endeavor. One of the big example we did last year during the pandemic is International Forum on Education, which is the monthly online webinar. Okay, so the IAMSCU, the Research University Symposium is our online one in January. So our big theme, during this time was the education in the post-pandemic world. It's happening the last Saturday of the month and exactly same time like today. Okay, so a coming forum, will be on the February 27th. Okay, that's the last day, last Saturday of the month. I'm trying to show you, okay, and that is what we covered, from I think from September, okay, and we were talking about the new normal and the education in the post-pandemic world in November. No, October. In November, we talked about the mental health under the pandemic. And also we had the Christmas celebration, our cultural presentation with the theme of We Heal as One. And in January, we are starting with this wonderful symposium. So I'm trying to remind you, a coming one is continued every month in the February 27th, same time. So I'm inviting all of you. If you put your email, for the registration, you might get the detailed information, for it. So that is all the announcement I have. And thank you, everyone. Maybe, reflecting on our last question about the exam and the authenticity, maybe, one of them, for this monthly webinar, should be how we can conduct online exam. Okay, and that is my big question, and I have tried a lot of different ways. So let us develop those kind of things together among us so that we can support each other and enlighten each other. Thank you very much.
All right, wonderful. Thank you very much, Dr. Pike. And as our final thing today, I would like to invite Bishop Nakpil to offer a closing blessing, a closing prayer for us.
I already talked to the assistant, and he is on his way to Bishop Nakpil now. Okay. So let's just wait for the bishop.
All right, good. While we're waiting, let me also just say a few other thanks for the symposium. We've had the strong support at IAMSCU University. First off, of the International Center, the staff in our International Center have been key to being able to do this symposium. So I want to give a big thanks to everyone in the International Center. Thank you for all of your hard work. And also in our Religious Activity Center, the staff have been very helpful. Those two centers are the key for our being able to put on a symposium like that. And we're very grateful for everyone who has worked to make this a success today.
Yes.
I was looking at our numbers online, and we had, at the most, we had about 200 participants simultaneously online on Zoom. And at one time we had almost 500 online on the YouTube Live. So we've had much higher numbers at this symposium than we ever had at the live events. This is the 6th one. We've done this 6 years in a row. And we've had many times the number online rather than doing it in person. So this is an unexpected success. And I want to say a big thanks and a hats off to everyone who has made it possible. Thank you. Bishop Nakpil,
okay, Paul,
good to see you again.
I've recovered my speech.
Wonderful.
Thank you. Let us pray.
Thank you.
Our Father, we often find ourselves in crisis situations, such as this pandemic that is affecting many aspects of our life, especially in education. We are grateful, however, Lord, that in every crisis we face, you are always there out of your love for us to provide us new ways of doing things to solve the problems that come our way. We thank you for this new technology through which we can connect with one another and share our best thinking in bringing your grace upon the situation we do not lose hope, O Lord, because you are always there. May you bless the schools, the organizations that are involved in this effort. May you, Lord, strengthen them, and may you make use of them for the glory of your name. This is our prayer. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you all very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to everyone, all of our speakers.
Thank you,
all.
Bishop.
Thank you. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you,
Paul.
Pat. Thank you, Paul. Thank you,
you,
Flor.
Nija. Thank you, Flo.
Thank you, Viana.
Thank you.
And thank you, Tiwari, sir.
Dr. Ikeda, thank you.
You din
Jose
po.
Sensei
And
mo, arigatou gozaimasu.
thank you,
Arigatou
Vladimir.
gozaimasu.
God bless.